show. Are we live? We live. It's Monday night. Kicking the week off right. Dreadedconservative show. Ending the week right now. I'm ending my week. This is the end of the week for me. A little bit tired. I just got woke up. And I'm in a bad mood. Not by Floor. She thinks she woke me up, but she didn't wake me up. What woke me up, and I don't want to be that neighbor, right? But what woke me up is it smells like there's a damn Cypress Hill concert going on downstairs, and I haven't smoked pot in like a month. So my sense of smell for it is like hyper acute. And I woke up thinking I was in a dang, like, pot field that was on fire. Because I think, I've said this before, her window is down below my window, and I have an air conditioning unit, so it sucks the air in from outside. It smells like a dang Cypress Hill concert in here. It was so pungent that it woke me up. Kind of irritated right now. But I'm not the type of guy that's gonna complain. You know, I was smoking pot a month ago in here, so I can't complain. But it was so strong it woke me up. Like, what the heck? Before I had to wake up. So I'm a little irritated right now. Anyway, we got a show today. Not a crazy show. Lots of stuff going on tonight. We got a short main story segment. We're just going to talk about Memorial Day. Happy Memorial Day, everybody. It's Memorial Day. We're going to look at some real soldiers, not these modern soldiers. Somebody said on a show, they said, instead of the tomb of the unknown soldier, it's going to be the tomb of the unknown gender now. I thought that was pretty funny. But that's happening. We'll talk about Memorial Day. Happy Memorial Day, everybody. Hope you're having a day off of work, maybe. Having some barbecues with the family. Living it up, all that good stuff. Then we got a lot of Trump news, Trump updates. The lamebertarians. He went to the little wannabe anarchist convention. Why do those people even get to vote? I don't get it. I'm almost like more okay with giving women the vote than giving the lamebertarians the vote. None of them should be voting. None of us should be voting anyway. We need a dang king. Christ is king. We need a dang Christian king in this mug. Trump stuff. He was hanging out with some gangsters. And then the media is celebrating junkies. Celebrating addicts. George Floyd biopic. Amy Winehouse biopic. And then slightly unrelated sidebar, we'll look into the Nick Rekeita stuff. Then we'll do memes, we'll do reels, we'll do rapid fire. In an hour, Trump is going to be on Timcast. So we'll check in on that periodically throughout the show. And then we're going to talk about Joseph Stalin, continuing our Dissecting a Dictator series. We got Stalin, and then next week, Mussolini, and then the main dictator himself. Even though he wasn't the worst one, the world tells us he's the worst one. We'll end with Josh needs a burqa. I don't need a burqa. Floor needs a burqa. I need a burqa to give to Floor. But that's the plan for the show. Let's get into it. All right. We got to go kind of quick because I want to be done with the main segment before this Timcast starts with Trump on it. So let me open up my stories. Memorial Day. Memorial Day. What is Memorial Day? Let's take a look at it. Let's look at some real soldiers. I know it might irk some people, but I don't really care. But currently our military is kind of whack. It's kind of whack. It's weak. It's feminized. And yeah, you don't get an automatic thank you for your service just for saying you served in the military in the past 10 years. You don't get that anymore. Nope, no more. A lot of people never get that. I don't think you automatically deserve a thank you for your service just because you were in the military to get some benefits for the rest of your life. But there are some real soldiers. There are some real men who are in the military to protect our country, dedicate their lives to protecting the country, and they get some respect. They get some respect. Some of these old generals and stuff, they get some respect. We're going to read from the va.gov, the origins of Memorial Day, real quick. So let's go straight to that. Oh, this is not what I want you to see. This is what I want you to see. Okay. From va.gov, the origins of Memorial Day. 3 years after the Civil War ended on May 5th, 1868, the head of an organization of Union veterans, the Grand Army of the Republic, the GAR, established Decoration Day as a time for the nation to decorate the graves of the war dead with flowers. Major General John A. Logan declared it should be May 30th. It is believed the date was chosen because the flowers would be in bloom all over the country. The first large observance was held that year at Arlington National Cemetery across the Potomac River from Washington, D.C. The ceremony centered around the mourning draped veranda of the Arlington Mansion. Once the home of General Robert E. Lee, various Washington officials, including General and Miss Ulysses S. Grant, presided over the ceremonies. After speeches, children from the Soldiers and Sailors Orphan Home and members of the GAR made their way through the cemetery, strewing flowers on both Union and Confederate graves, reciting prayers and singing hymns. Local springtime tributes to the Civil War dead already had been held in various places. One of the first occurred in Columbus, Mississippi, or Columbus, Missouri. April 25th, 1866, when a group of women visited a cemetery to decorate the graves of Confederate soldiers who had fallen in battle at Shiloh. Nearby were the graves of Union soldiers neglected because they were the enemy. Disturbed at the sight of the bare graves, the women placed some of their flowers on those graves as well. Today, cities in the North and South claim to be the birthplace of Memorial Day in 1866. Both Macon and Columbus, Georgia, claim the title, as well as Richmond, Virginia. The village of Boalsburg, Pennsylvania, claims it began there 2 years earlier. A stone in a Carbondale, Illinois cemetery carries the statement that the first Decoration Day ceremony took place there on April 29th, 1866. Carbondale was the wartime home of General Logan. Approximately 25 places had been named in connection with the origin of Memorial Day, many of them in the South, where most of the war dead were buried. That's kind of crazy that it's it's what 160 years ago and we don't even know the day that it started. But you expect us to know the exact day that Christmas fell on? Whatever. People won't complain about this, but they'll complain about what day we have Christmas. Anyway, official birthplace declared in 1966, Congress and President Lyndon Baines Johnson declared Waterloo, New York, the birthplace of Memorial Day, which is not even on the list of these potential birthplace places. There, a ceremony, but that's Lyndon Johnson for you. There, a ceremony on May 5th, 1866, honored local veterans who had fought in the Civil War. Businesses closed and residents flew flags at half-staff. Supporters of Waterloo's claim say earlier observances in other places were either informal, not community-wide or one-time events. By the end of the 19th century, Memorial Day ceremonies were being held on May 30th throughout the nation. State legislatures passed proclamations designating the day, and the Army and Navy adopted regulations for proper observance at their facilities. It was not until after World War I, however, that the day was expanded to honor those who had died in all American wars. In 1971, Memorial Day was declared a national holiday by an act of Congress, though it is still often called Decoration Day. It was then also placed on the last Monday in May, as were some other federal holidays. Some states have Confederate observances. Many southern states also have their own days for honoring the Confederate dead. Mississippi celebrates Confederate Memorial Day on the last Monday of April, Alabama on the fourth Monday of April, and Georgia on April 26th. North and South Carolina observe it on May 10th, Louisiana on June 3rd, and Tennessee calls that date Confederate Decoration Day. Texas celebrates Confederate Heroes Day January 19th, and Virginia calls the last Monday in May Confederate Memorial Day. General Logan's order for his posts to decorate graves in 1868 with the choicest flowers of springtime urged, we should guard their graves with sacred vigilance. Let pleasant paths invite the coming and going of reverent visitors and fond mourners. Let no neglect, no ravages of time testify to the present or to the coming generations that we have forgotten as a people the cost of a free and undivided republic. Nice. The crowd attended the first Memorial Day ceremony at Arlington National Cemetery was approximately the same size as those that attend today's observance, about 5,000 people. Then, as now, small American flags were placed on each grave, a tradition followed at many national cemeteries today. In recent years, the custom has grown in many families to decorate the graves of all departed loved ones. The origins of special services to honor those who died in war can be found in antiquity. The Athenian leader Pericles offered a tribute to the fallen heroes of the Peloponnesian War over 24 centuries ago that could be applied today to the 1.1 million Americans who have died in the nation's wars. Not only are they commemorated by columns and inscriptions, but there dwells also an unwritten memorial of them, graven not on stone, but in the hearts of men. To ensure the sacrifices of Americans' fallen heroes are never forgotten, in December 2000, the U.S. Congress passed and the president signed into law the National Moment of Remembrance Act, PL 106-579, creating the White House Commission on the National Moment of Remembrance. The commission's charter is to encourage the people of the United States to give something back to their country, which provides them so much freedom and opportunity, by encouraging and coordinating commemorations in the United States of Memorial Day and the National Moment of Remembrance. The National Moment of Remembrance encourages all Americans to pause wherever they are at 3 p.m. local time on Memorial Day for a minute of silence to remember and honor those who have died in service to the nation. As a moment of remembrance, founder Carmela Laspada says, it's a way we can all help put the memorial back in Memorial Day. I didn't know that. I didn't know that at 3 p.m. you're supposed to have a minute of silence. I was sleeping at 3 p.m., so I guess I did it. Did you guys do that? So that's the story of the origins of Memorial Day from the VA.gov. Nice. Pretty nice. Josh, don't cover up that chest. Oh, boy. You need to calm down, Floor. Floor's in heat right now. Yeah, I get woke up by pot smell, and then I'm laying there in bed trying to sleep some more because I still could have slept for another 20 minutes. But I couldn't sleep. And then Floor starts calling me and texting me, calling me and texting me and calling me and texting me. Josh, your show is starting. Your show is starting, Josh. Josh, please. Please start the show. Now she's going to say, I don't talk like that. I don't talk like that. Prominent. Let's look at some prominent military figures. This is from Arlington National Cemetery. .mil. What is .mil? Oh, .military? That's a military website. Okay. The following individuals are historically significant primarily for their military leadership and service. However, this is not an exhaustive list. Those profiled in other categories of notable graves also served honorably in the U.S. Armed Forces, or were the spouses or children of service members. They are listed in other categories. Let's look at some of these names. Some real soldiers, some real generals, you know, some of the OGs in the game. Let's take a look at some of these. Let's see. Who do we got? Lieutenant Colonel Alexander T. Augusta, a pioneering doctor and the highest ranking African American officer of the Civil War. Of course, he's going to be first on the list. Army's first black physician, United States first black. I don't care about that. You don't get bonus points just because you were the first black something. That's racist. I don't like that stuff. You could have left all that out. Major Louis Kukla, U.S. Marine Corps, 1888 to 1956. Born in Croatia, Kukela immigrated to the United States. Oh my God, what is this? A diversity, equity, and inclusion list? Captain Edward, I'm not saying these people aren't great soldiers that did great things for the military, but come on now. He got the Navy and Army Medals of Honor for extraordinary heroism in France during World War I. Okay, see that you could have left out the other stuff. This is racist. Captain Edward P. Doherty, an officer in the 16th New York Cavalry, an Irish-American Civil War veteran, pursued and captured John Wilkes Booth. That's the guy that allegedly got MK Ultra'd and shot Abraham Lincoln, one of the first MK Ultra victims, before it was even known to be a thing. I bet you they were still doing it back then. They got it perfected now where they don't even got to do it to college intellectuals. They just do it with the TV and the subliminal messaging and the monarch mind control. Anyway, sidebar. Major General Abner Doubleday. I've heard of this guy. Contrary to popular myth, Doubleday did not invent baseball, but he did fire the Union's first cannon shot in the Civil War. A West Point graduate, he fought in the Mexican-American War and in conflicts with American Indians during the 1850s. Based. By 1861, he had become the second in command of the U.S. Army's garrison at Fort Sumter, South Carolina, which secessionist forces attacked in the morning of April 12, 1861, thus beginning the Civil War. Doubleday commanded troops in the Second Battle of Bull Run, Antietam. How do you say that? Antietam and Gettysburg. Antietam? Antietam? Is that how you say that? I think. Major General Adolphus W. Greeley, an Arctic explorer during the Civil War, he commanded the 81st Regiment. I thought we've never been to the Arctic. United States Colonel, Colored Infantry. He spent most of his Army career with Signal Corps, supervisor, telegraph line, blah, 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 blah. Retired, co-founded the National Geographic Society. His 91st birthday, he was awarded the Medal of Honor. 91, dang. Dr. Anita Newcomb McGee, Major General Montgomery C. Meigs, West Point graduate, served in the Army Corps of Engineers supervising important Pruer projects. What's a Pruer project? General Jonathan M. Wainwright. Oh, so this is section 1 is 5-star generals and admirals, Medal of Honor recipients. Richard Byrd, Rear Admiral Richard Byrd. Was this the guy that, another Arctic explorer and naval aviator? He's the one that allegedly made up flat Earth because he figured out Antarctica was not real, which is not true, by the way. He actually he was the first person to fly over both poles of the Earth, reaching the North Pole in 1926 and the South Pole in 1929. He and pilot Floyd Bennett each received a Medal of Honor for their North Pole flight. Congress promoted Byrd to Rear Admiral after his South Pole expedition. Pause. Byrd continued exploring Antarctica throughout his life. He was 67 years old at the time of his last expedition in 1955. General Claire L. Chennault. That's a guy. Claire. General John L. Clem. Major General George Crook. General Benjamin O. Davis Sr. And his son, General Benjamin O. Davis Jr. Major General William J. Donovan, Admiral William Halsey Jr., General Daniel Chappie James. Long list. We're not going to go through all of them, but these are some great generals. Colonel Gregory Pappy Boyington. So shout out to to the the real soldiers, to the fallen soldiers. My stepdad is buried in a military cemetery, and so is my grandpa. So shout out to the fallen soldiers. I don't know how to do a proper salute. I don't even think I'm supposed to do it because I don't know how to do it right. Robbie taught me how to do it right. You got to tuck your thumb, right? You got to have your hand at your hand is supposed to be at more of an angle than you would think. Shout out, guys. Thank you for protecting America. Currently, our country is crumbling, and we're going to need some strong soldiers for World War III coming soon to a city near you if Joe Biden gets reelected. Speaking of Joe Biden, hopefully not getting reelected, let's move on to Trump. It's Trump time. Where's my air horn? Oh, I don't have the air horn sound on here. Trump. Where's my the air horn is on Discord. I can't play it right now. That sound. What's up, Matthew? Let's talk about Trump. What's going on in Trump news? Trump's gonna be on Timcast here in about 30 minutes. From AP, Trump, accustomed to friendly crowds, confronts repeated booing during Libertarian convention speech. Now, first off, who cares? Who cares about the Libertarians? Of course they're going to boo. They'd boo anything. All he had to do is go up there and say, I'm going to legalize pot. Marijuana's going to be legal. And they would have loved him. That's all he had to say to get their vote. He could have just went up there and did a 10-second speech. I'm going to legalize pot. And they all would vote for him. But they say he was booed repeatedly, but people were also cheering and whistling. Maybe there was a couple loud people in the crowd who were booing. Maybe they were booing Biden because Trump would say something about Biden and then there would be boos. And the media is reporting on things often wishy-washy, but I did listen to it. They have a sign behind Trump's head says become ungovernable, which I've been seeing in a lot of memes. This become ungovernable. I didn't know that was like a libertarian slogan. It makes sense. But they put the anarchy A in ungovernable. They have the anarchy A. So they don't even hide the fact that they're little baby anarchists. And it's just funny. But I give Trump props for going into enemy territory. You know, he's a populist guy. He's the right guy for the job. Trump was booed repeatedly while addressing the Libertarian Party National Convention on Saturday night, with many in the crowd shouting insults and decrying him for things like his COVID-19 policies, running up towering federal deficits, and lying about his political record. When he took the stage, many jeered, while some supporters clad in Make America Great hat and t-shirts cheered and chanted, USA, USA. It was a rare moment in Trump coming face to face with open detractors, which is highly unusual for someone accustomed to staging rallies in front of ever-adoring crowds. Libertarians who prioritize small government and individual freedoms, guns and pot, are often skeptical of the former president, and his invitation to address the convention has divided the party. Trump tried to make light of that by referring to the 4 criminal indictments against him and joking, "If I wasn't a libertarian before, I sure as hell am now a libertarian." Let's watch some segments from it, and just a couple little clips from it. Oh, hold on. We're gonna go. I gotta fix my audio. The audio's going to the TV right now. All right, let's start with just the opening, and you can hear the Libertarians booing.
In many ways, I love $29 donors more than I love those big, fat, beautiful $1 million donors.
Ooh!
I'm humbly asking for you to chip in the average grassroots donation of just $29. Crooked Joe.
They say that Trump doesn't receive as much donations as a lot of other previous candidates and presidents because they're only counting donations like over $1 million. So a lot of these other candidates get big backers who give them big chunks of money, lobbyist groups and things like that. Whereas Trump gets more small donations than like anybody ever, like $5 donations and stuff like that, which is pretty based. But anyway, that was just a ad. That's the type of ad I like to see when I'm watching a Trump video. Let's see the beginning of this, and then we'll skip ahead to one cool part here in a minute.
And I am truly honored to be invited here tonight as the first president in American history to address the Libertarian National Convention.
You see the become ungovernable, and they have the anarchy A in the symbol. So it's not a secret. It's not hidden what they're doing, who they are.
It's a great honor. A lot of people ask why I came to speak at this Libertarian convention, and you know, it's an interesting question, isn't it? But we're gonna have a lot of fun. Well, in the last year, I've been indicted by the government on 91 different things. So if I wasn't a libertarian before, I sure as hell am a libertarian now. And unlike Joe Biden, I don't throw people in jail for disagreeing with me. I don't do that. I want to thank some people that have been really outstanding.
All right, so there's the intro. That's when they're booing at him. They boo throughout the whole thing, though. Let's skip ahead to 25 minutes in. This gets pretty good. He's talking about people he's going to pardon if he gets reelected.
Political prisoner who has been unjustly persecuted by the Biden administration so that I can sign their pardons or commutations on day one.
Now listen to this. I haven't heard him acknowledge this yet. Maybe he has, but Free Ross. When I was first listening to this, I was just listening, not watching. I thought they were saying free pot, free pot, free pot. They want free pot.
And I will ensure that libertarians are helping to lead that task force. You'll be on that task force, many of you. As everyone knows, it will be my great honor to pardon the peaceful January 6th protesters.
Let's go.
As I often call them, the hostages. They're hostages. There has never been a group of people treated so harshly or unfairly in our country's history. This abuse will be rectified, and it will be rectified very quickly.
Rectified, dang
and
near
if you vote
killedified.
For me on day one, I will commute the sentence of Ross Ulbricht to a sentence of time served.
I don't even know who this guy is. Some libertarian hero, but I thought it was pretty cool that he said he's gonna pardon the J6ers. And if he gets in, let's hold him to it. Let's hold him to it because he works for the people. So that happened this week. That was some big news that happened. I got one other Trump story. Trump made the news one other time, another AP article. Trump appeared on stage at his Bronx rally, which I also listened to that. Pretty good rally. Some lady almost like, I don't know what happened, but maybe it was like one of those, what was that concert where the people were like dying in the audience? That Travis Scott concert. he had one of those events where a lady was passing out and he stopped the show. Well, stop. We've got time. We have a doctor in the house. Somebody get a doctor. We need a doctor over here. And help this woman. But apparently he had two Bronx rally with two rappers charged in a felony gang case. So he had some gangsters come up on stage. You know, you gotta reach my blacks. My blacks. I gotta reach out to my blacks. Not a good look, Trump. I'll be critical when I gotta be critical. But you brought two felony gang members on stage. Let's look at this. You got Day Day and Debo on stage. Former President Donald Trump at his rally this week in Bronx invited two rappers on stage who have been charged in a sweeping gang case, with one of them facing attempted murder charges. Michael Williams, better known as Chef G. Chef G. 25-year-old rapper whose songs and videos have millions of YouTube views and Spotify streams. He's also a central figure in the gang case unveiled by Brooklyn District Attorney Eric Gonzalez over a year ago, while he was serving a separate attempted weapons possession sentence. How do you get an attempted weapons possession sentence? I guess trying to buy a gun? I guess when you're a felon? I don't know. Tegan Chambers, 24, who raps as Sleepy Hallow. Sleepy Hallow and Chef G has close to 11 million monthly listeners on Spotify. He faces conspiracy charges in the gang case. Both he and Chef G have pleaded not guilty. The presumptive Republican presidential nominee appearance with suspected gang members comes as Trump is on trial himself in his New York hush money case, which I think closing statements were Friday or today. They wouldn't have had court today, I don't think. I don't know. I saw a headline that said closing statements were coming soon, so we'll see the results of that. I made a Trump short on YouTube, and I have all these losers commenting, he's gonna be in jail. Biden's gonna get reelected, and Trump's gonna be in jail. And I hope they eat their words. Like, I'd never confidently say who's gonna win an election. I said in 2020 I would not put my money on Trump, and I even said this term, if there was some strong Biden supporter who wanted to bet against Biden, I would bet against Trump, because I don't trust our system. I don't trust our elections. So I'm not going to confidently say that Trump's going to win, but these Biden supporters are very confident, and they've been very confident for years now, that he's going to be in jail and he's going to lose. Maybe he loses, but he's not going to jail. That's just dumb. You don't know anything about anything if you think that Trump's going to ever see a jail cell. If you believe those headlines, you're crazy. Anyway, I hope they eat their words, but they won't. They think they're prophets. They think they can predict the future. That sounded like a whale in pain. What did I do that sounded like a whale in pain? And as he recurringly slams New York and other Democrat-run cities as crime-ridden, Trump has rallied against the Manhattan District Attorney, who is prosecuting him for letting violent crime run rampant all over our city. Yeah, not a good look, Trump. I don't know if I would have brought two gangsters on stage, but you could have found some better black men to reach out to my blacks. But that's it for all our Trump dates, Trump updates. Shout out Trump. World War III is on the way if he doesn't get elected. The nukes are coming. Fake nukes are coming. Rafa's about to get hit by a fake nuke. Hola, Necio. All right. So that's it for the Trump updates. Let's get into this last little segment. Addicts celebrated. Addicts are being celebrated. Drug addicts being celebrated. We put drug addicts on a pedestal now, and people celebrate them. George Floyd has a biopic coming out. The 4-year celebration of George Floyd's sobriety happened this past week, and and we're celebrating not his sobriety, but we're celebrating his addiction. George Floyd biopic, Daddy Changed the World. Is it biopic or biopic? How do you say that? I think it's biopic, like a biography picture, but it looks like biopic. George Floyd biopic, Daddy Changed the World, in the works with his daughter executive producing. Oh, so we're gonna help the we're gonna celebrate the drug addict, and his family, who's already rich, is gonna get richer. That makes sense. This is from Variety.com. A family authorized George Floyd biopic titled and if I'm saying it wrong on purpose because biopic sounds cooler. Titled Daddy Changed the World is in works from Radar Pictures, Eight Queens Film. Eight Queens Film? Eight Queens Film. I bet they make some great movies. And Media Productions. Eight Queens Film and Media Productions. Is that the media group that Patrice Cullors started with all the Black Lives Matter donations? And Night Fox Entertainment. Night Fox. Floyd's daughter, Gianna Floyd, and her mother, Roxy Washington, are involved in the making of the film, serving as executive producers. Gregory R. Anderson, who made Stomp the Yard, great movie, will write the screenplay for the movie, which will capture the life of the man whose murder in 2020 sparked a global racial reckoning and fueled the movement against police brutality. Right. ACAB, all cops are bad. The film is still in search for a director. Ted Fields serves as producer for Radar Pictures alongside Dr. Kayada Rankin for Eight Queens and Timothy Christian for Night Fox. 46-year-old Floyd was killed on May 25th, 2020, after Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin knelt on his neck for more than 9 minutes while Floyd was handcuffed and forced to lay face down on the street. Well, that's because he was a drug addict and a criminal. But we celebrate drug addicts and criminals now. Even Trump brings up criminals on stage. What a mess. After attempting to use a counterfeit $20 bill at a store, they left out the part where he ate all the meth and the fentanyl. While suffocating, he didn't die from suffocation. He was in excited delirium because he ate a bunch of drugs. Floyd repeatedly called out, "I can't breathe," which he was saying before he got put on the ground. I'm doing a lot of editorialization to this article. A lot of this stuff they didn't say, I'm adding it, which became a powerful slogan of the racial justice movement in 2021. Wasn't it a slogan before George Floyd? Didn't somebody else say the same thing? Didn't they always used to say that? Anyway, Chauvin was put on trial and convicted of second-degree murder, third-degree murder, and second-degree manslaughter. I don't know how you get both in the same case, but he got them. He was sentenced to more than 20 years in prison for depriving Floyd of his constitutional rights. Criminals don't get constitutional rights. You don't get constitutional rights when you're breaking the law. Breaking the law, breaking the law. A federal jury also convicted 3 other Minneapolis police officers for violating the same criminal civil rights statute. The biopic will apparently not portray Floyd as a perfect person. Well, yeah, because that would just be a lie. But rather a father with human flaws whose horrific death changed the world. There was nothing horrific about it. It will not be a traditional biopic, more a gritty drama of a man and his community thrust into the fiery light of history. Well, I hope they're honest. I hope they show him putting guns to pregnant women's bellies and doing drugs and eating drugs before he got put on the ground. Maybe, hopefully, they showed the full 45 minutes of footage from both angles. Hopefully, the biopic will show where he asked to be taken out of the car and was saying, "I can't breathe," before he got put on the ground. I hope the biopic touches on the part that he didn't die at the scene, that he died later, and that the whole time he was on the ground, they were waiting for an ambulance to come because he couldn't breathe before he got put on the ground. I hope they address all these things, but I don't think they will. I wouldn't put money on it. Meanwhile, more Floyd news. No justice, no streets. 4 years after murder, George Floyd Square stands in protest. This is from nprnews.org. Let's look at this picture. Look at this nice picture. They definitely did some color adjustments on this photo because I promise you this area does not look that bright and happy. They definitely raised the contrast in this image, added a little vibrancy, little extra green and blues, little extra warmth, which is reds. But anyway, this is George Floyd Square. Every morning, neighbors gather at the intersection of 38th Street and Chicago Avenue in South Minneapolis, a daily ritual of protest and healing. No one's free until all free. No one's free until all free, and before I be slave. Wow. Oh, this guy. I'm glad they quoted him properly. No one's free until all free, and before I be a slave, you'll be buried in my grave. That's a great chant. Ray Court Johnson recited on recent Wednesdays, 3 days before the anniversary of George Floyd murder at this very corner. Johnson was repeating the timeless lyrics of "Oh Freedom," a Negro spiritual closely associated with the enslavement of African people in the American South. I'll go home to my land, and I'll be free. All my life, I've been beat by men. For the past 3 years, Johnson and other like-minded musicians who had the same idea of bringing music to what is now called George Floyd Square have been playing together weekly as Brass Solidarity, a group committed to being a voice for justice and black liberation and healing. Okay, all right, we get it. Hey, there's a white guy. There's a white guy playing a saxophone. Let's go. I bought my instrument and actually started playing because it was such a gloomy atmosphere, he said. Healing is a common thread for people who gather at George Floyd. Okay. We get it. Enough of that crap. But that's not it. There are other addicts, drug addicts, who died as drug addicts, being celebrated and worshipped in our media and in our movies. From rollingstone.com, they're not going to let me read the article, so we'll just go read about it from Wikipedia. Back to Black, fact-checking the Amy Winehouse biopic. So Amy Winehouse had another movie come out about her. And let me just show you, I never found Amy Winehouse attractive. First off, I don't like the big hair. Like the big hair. I didn't like the old, back in like the 80s, like the what's her name from Love and Marriage, or from Peggy. I didn't like Peggy's the blowouts in the teasing or the backcombing, whatever they do. Not a fan. Not a fan of too little hair. Not a fan of the blowout. Okay, but she looking like a man. She looking like a man. You know, look at her body shape. She's just oddly shaped. She was oddly shaped. She looked like, now I guess in her younger years she was more prettier. Is that how you say that? More prettier? More pretty? But when she was famous, it's like Lady Gaga. It's like you might be a man. Especially nowadays, I really don't know anymore. Like a lot of these chicks look like men and they're popular. The short tragic life of Amy Winehouse has been chronicled in a documentary. Numerous unofficial biographies, memoirs by her father. Rolling Stone's not going to let me read the full article, so we'll look at it from Wikipedia. This is why I like Wikipedia, because it's free, and they never make me pay to read articles when I go through too many articles. Back to Black. We're not going to read this whole thing. We'll just read this first couple paragraphs. Is a 2024 biographical drama film based in the life of British singer-songwriter Amy Winehouse. Yeah, her teeth were messed up too. Look at the bouffant. What is that called? This poof on her head. And when girls do the poof in the front, what is that? What is that? Anyway, played by Marissa Abela, directed by Sam Taylor Johnson, written by blah, 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 blah. Following the death of Winehouse in July 2011, several filmmakers attempted to create a biopic projects, but none of them progressed. In 2018, Winehouse's estate announced they had signed a deal for a film about her life and career. By July 2022, studio can now move forward with production and filming. The film was released theatrically on April 11th, was released in United Kingdom, blah, blah, blah. Focus Features released the film in the United States in 2024. It received mixed reviews. What's the plot of the movie? And what drugs was she on? She must have been on some dang heroin. Raised in a Jewish family with her father Mitch and her grandmother Nan, both sharing their love for music and singing, Amy's friend Tyler hands his manager Nick a demo tape of Amy's recording and is impressed by her talent. She then signs a contract, and I didn't even think her songs were that. Try to make me go to rehab, and I say no, no, no. Yeah, let's celebrate and worship this person. I get that artists are usually kind of whacked in the head, but why are we celebrating this stuff? After enjoying acclaimed success, her record label wished to alter some changes with her stage act. Amy strongly disagrees with. Then she reveals she needs time off to live her songs. Then meets Blake in a pub where they fall in love. Relationship is troubled. After experiencing Amy's irritable behavior, Blake reveals he thinks they would be better as friends and wants to work on things with his ex-girlfriend, Becky. Give me that Becky! Which leaves Amy heartbroken. She learns her grandmother is dying of lung cancer. After a difficult period, she then gathers inspiration to write her hit album, Back to Black. Shortly after the release of her second album, they elope to Florida, much to Mitch's dismay, but soon after, Blake is arrested and then serves a 2-year sentence, blah, blah, blah. After various blackouts, Amy decides to accept rehab and later receives 5 Grammy Awards. Right, so she goes to rehab and they give her a bunch of Grammys. And then she dies of an overdose. Amy is now clean of drugs and trying to tackle her alcohol dependence. After a visit from Mitch, the paparazzi appear outside her gate and reveal the new girlfriend having a baby. Tearful Amy sings Tears Dry on Their Own to herself and walks over. Her husband reveals that she redescended into alcoholism. Alcoholism? No such thing. Culminating in her untimely death from alcoholic poisoning. She died from alcohol poisoning? Dang. I thought it had to be heroin or something. Alcohol poisoning? You got to drink a lot to die of alcohol poisoning. Dang. Anyway, and we celebrate that. That's celebrated. That's what we celebrate nowadays. We got 10 minutes till Timcast starts. But we got one more story in our main story, more on the line of celebrating addicts. But this is kind of different. This is more of a sidebar. It's kind of not related, but it is similar. It's one of two things. You're a drug addict who gets famous, or you get famous and become a drug addict. And this is all alleged. We don't know all the details yet. I have seen some people saying, and some websites and things saying that he had 25 grams of cocaine. Oh, get out of here with this pop-up. Oh, I got a dang pop-up. They're not going to let me read this? Oh, wait, yeah, I can. Okay, cool. Nick Rekeita. We'll talk about Nick Rekeita. Not really celebrating an addict. Actually, now he's taking a lot of heat for this. But it's kind of the opposite. This is where you get famous and then you become a drug addict. He's made over $1 million in the last 10 years. Rekeita Law, a popular law tuber, has been arrested with drug and firearm possession charges. And I watched a law tuber who knew Nick Rekeita talk, or I listened to it last night for like 2 hours. So I learned a lot about the case and what's going on. And what he was saying is it's not pot related. We know that, but we don't know what drug it is for sure. Now, maybe since that video was made 3 days ago, more has come out because people are saying it was cocaine, 25 grams of cocaine. The law tuber that I was watching did hint that it could have been cocaine, but nobody knew for sure. And they say he's lost 60 pounds in the past like 6 months. Um, and his show has just been on a steep decline. His streams went from being intelligent law tuber streams to basically drinking streams every show. And this law tuber was talking about how he doesn't take part in those anymore. And I get it because I've seen it in my own show where the late night drinking streams kind of go off the rails and it just becomes a mess. But another thing he was talking about is how when Nick was going through these streams where he was obviously in a rough place, that his chat was just a bunch of degenerates. It's not people that care about you. It's the majority of the people that come in chat are haters, trolls. Even if they're not good at being trolls, they're just trolls who are miserable, sitting in their house and just talk crap to people on the internet all day because they're lonely and they're miserable and they have sad lives. So they have nothing to add to the world. So they just go on the internet and talk trash about people all day. That's all they do is insult people on the internet. And it's kind of sad. It is sad. And it's like, yeah, that's why I just ban people because I don't need that energy around me. You know, who needs that energy? Were you watching Joe? I haven't looked at chat in a minute. Contrast and saturation. Yep. I used to process photos professionally. Nada. You used to do everything professionally. I'm trying to figure out GIMP and I'm trying to get layouts for my OBS. Help a brother out. You say you did special effects, and I'm like, well, help me with my special effects. You said, well, I don't do that. And then you say process photos. Anyway, yeah, I know. I do it on my thumbnails too. They I warm it up a bit and brighten it up. Contrast, saturation, sharpness. I know. I know nada. Were you watching Joe? Watching Joe. My brother Nick, 26.5, I believe. 26 is the threshold. Grams of cocaine is what you're saying? He had 26 grams of cocaine? Uh the lawyer that I was reading said that for what he was charged with, it only had to be over like 2.5 grams. And 26 grams of cocaine is a grip of cocaine, but it's not like, I mean, if you're making that much money off you, I don't think he was dealing or anything like that. That's like a rich person's personal stash. You know, that's not a Scarface pile for people who don't know drug lingo. 26 grams of cocaine is like a fat rock. Um, for comparisons, when I dabbled in that stuff when I was in high school and things like that, um, you know, me and two other guys would pitch in to get a gram for like $40 to $70 for a night of partying. So 26 grams is a grip, but it's not like drug dealer numbers, but that's a lot of cocaine. But he also had guns. Him and his wife and their friend, his nanny, his in-home nanny, were all arrested. And we have some of the arraignment. Let me read this real quick. Several social media users claim Nick Rekeita, a popular lawyer influencer on YouTube, has been arrested for drugs and firearm possession. One person on X shared an image of the charge sheet following Rekeita and his wife Kayla charged and pending a court hearing. According to the screenshot, the two were detained on Thursday, May 23rd. And there's the mug shot and the charge sheet. Several media users claim Nick Rekeita, a popular lawyer, has been arrested for drugs and firearm, blah, 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 blah. So, first we'll watch the clip of some of his decay, his decline that you could see on the show. Now, I don't know what's happening in this video. Some people say he's dilly-dallying with himself. You know, he's doing a little dilly-dallying. Some people say he's catching a little Becky under the table. I don't know. He could just be like drunk and he's spazzing out. I don't know, but
do we want to take?
But here's
something is wrong, because it's not just.
So this is Legal Mindset. This is the video that I watched. I only watched like 2 hours of it, but it's a 3-hour stream.
Me, many other people who reached out and said, yeah, this is a problem, right? This is a problem. And this is the clip that I think a lot of you guys have seen. And in fact, I saw you in the chat. I think people, let me just pull it up here before I get into this. I think I see people here.
Now this looks rough.
Who said this?
He's definitely
Oh,
faded.
what's up, mindset up? I'm doing good. Thank you. Well, I'm not good, because I don't think this is good news.
But he doesn't drink like I drink on stream. I'll drink beers while I'm streaming. There are streams where I get pretty drunk if I'm drinking liquor, but he drinks liquor like it's going out of style. And people send him bottles of liquor. He drinks like some strong liquors. Hold on. Let me fix this. Oh, I'm so glad I learned how to do that. That's so nice that I can trim the edges.
Okay. News for anybody. So I am not good. But I think somebody said, did you see the clip? Right? I saw that from somebody. And this is the clip, right? And in case you haven't seen the clip, this is the one that circulated. And this is the one I've seen people retweet. I saw this is from Happy House Video on Twitter, but I saw Rev retweet this.
It was the Sonichu medallion curse. What is that? His mugshot is like, why are you bothering me right now? I'm trying to get it on with my in-house babysitter. I don't know. All this is allegedly. He's innocent until proven guilty in America. And he's not dead yet, like George Floyd and Amy Winehouse. So maybe this is going to wake him up. Maybe this will snap him back into reality. Maybe this is what he needs. So, you know, wish him well.
So I saw a bunch of other people retweet this, a bunch of normal
he was on Fallen State not long ago.
Lawyers. Other non-lawyers, non-law tubers, sector people, not Jim, I mean, these are people like other people outside of the sphere. Like Kirsha retweeted this. Thank you. Kirsha, I don't know who that is. People saw this and were like, this is a problem. So this behavior, I'm going to play this and I'll let you guys judge for yourself. Is this like what is going on in this behavior? I'm just going to play this.
I don't know. Oh, he's doing something weird. Oh, wait, you guys can't see it. Hold up. He's doing something weird. Something's happening under there. I don't know. Got the arm motion going. What the heck?
Why is my camera still on?
Why is my camera still on? Oh my God. Now that makes you look guilty. Bro, when you realize the camera's still on, you don't say, why is my camera still on? You pretend like you were doing something else. Like you pull your hands up real quick. Hands, show your hands. Say, guys, there was a freaking mosquito on my trousers. Guys, there was a bug on my leg. I wasn't doing what you think you were. You saw just now. You go. Don't clip that. Don't clip that. But you don't look up and realize that you're still streaming and say, "Oh crap, I'm still streaming." You say, "Oh, there was a freaking bug on my leg." Gosh, man. Come on, man. He got an anonymous parcel to his house. He did. He put that guy on. Yep. He did the Sonichu medallion. It's insane. He got an anonymous parcel to his house. It's wild. Don't clip it. Okay, so that's it. Hold on. Trump and Timcast is starting. We got one more clip to watch. Let's watch a clip from his arraignment. Now, it's amazing how a little bit of jail time will make you look healthier. He's in jail in this at his arraignment, where he decided to defend himself, which is a mistake. He's also defending his wife, who is his co-defendant. I'm not even sure how that works out. And neither this guy who's watching this video is a lawyer, and he's like, I don't know how this works out, if this is even doable. But he's telling the judge, it's crazy though. They do these court appearances on Zoom calls. Now, court is always open to the public, but when it's on the internet, it's a whole nother world when you're a famous YouTuber and you have your court appearance on a public Zoom meeting. When you keep hearing in the background, doo-doom, 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 that's people logging in. That's people logging into the thing. The whole court appearance, it's just ding, 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 ding. And at one point, they don't have the mute turned on for the audience. So some guy jumps in and says, you should KILL yourself, cokehead, or something like that. Hold on, it's pretty early in it. Let me see if I can find
amount of observers. First, you are to turn off your device so you are muted and turn off your video camera. Second of all, there have been requests to record this proceeding. Those requests are denied. The rules.
I mean, you could just screen record. If you have OBS, you could just screen record it like somebody obviously did.
General rules of practice prohibit any recording other than the official record of the judicial branch, which is recorded by a certified court reporter. I imagine that transcripts can be available. That's under General Rule of Practice 42 or 4.02, Subdivision 5 at Prin 5. I need to tell everyone that a violation of that rule would lead could lead to contempt proceedings.
Like, what a joke of a court trial, of an arraignment. And also, when I got locked up, our arraignment was on a closed court, a closed circuit CCTV, or it was like you went into a room with all the guys and you saw the judge on a TV from the jail, but it was like a closed court thing. You were just talking directly to a judge on a screen. Now they're on a Zoom call from the jail that anybody can just get on. This is crazy. And China owns Zoom. We're worried about TikTok. How about all of our court proceedings and our schooling since COVID being done on Zoom calls? You can fact check me on that. I'm pretty sure I fact checked it a long time ago. It's not going to say that China owns Zoom, but when you look deeper into it, all the people who own Zoom are owned by China. So it is Chinese tech.
We are on the record in 34 CR 24.
For the record, I have an email.
And Madam Clerk, if you can disable that the buzzing or bell noise each time someone joins us, court would appreciate that. This is the state of Minnesota versus Nicholas Robert Rekeita. Am I saying that correctly? You've told me before.
Yes, sir, Rekeita.
I have your date of birth is December 16, 1981.
Yes, sir.
Currently,
I'm trying to find where the guy says, he says KILL yourself, cokehead. And he's got a lot of haters because he's kind of right wing. And so he's got a lot of internet haters. But it's sad. Where did I want to go? I wanted to go to 7 minutes and 30 seconds in.
they reside at 12291.
What's there? They're saying his address, so the audio.
Okay. Your appearance today is based on 3 counts to a complaint order for detention. The record should reflect that Alex Kornahachi appears for the state of Minnesota. Mr. Rekeita, you are self-representing yourself at this point?
Yes, sir.
It's a mistake.
Okay. Count one is second-degree possession.
And apparently the judge that he has to deal with, he's talked a lot of crap about on YouTube. He's barred from practice in, is it Michigan, whatever state he lives in? And he's talked a lot of crap about the judge that he's going to have to deal with. Says she drinks through her vajayjay before and things like that.
25 grams or more of cocaine or methamphetamine.
So right there, he said coke or meth, and it's assumed that it's coke. 24 grams or more, he said. So I don't know why the law tuber. Well, I think the law tuber I was watching made his video before this happened, but it is confirmed it is cocaine and possession of a firearm.
This is in violation of Minnesota Statute 152.022, subdivision 2, print A, print 1.
Right.
The maximum sentence for that count is 25 years in prison and or a $500,000 fine. Count 2 is possession of ammunition or any firearm with the user of controlled substances. This is a gross misdemeanor, so the maximum sentence is 364 days in the Kansas County Jail and or a $3,000 fine. Count 3, endangerment of a child when present with a sale or possession of a controlled substance. Again, a gross misdemeanor. Maximum.
Get all your coke out, Nick, and kill yourself, you stupid motherfucker.
He said something. He said something about your coke stash and KILL yourself, you stupid mother effer. Just some random guy jumps in the court proceeding and yells that. Like, this is a clown court system we have today. Our justice system is whack. It's all ridiculous. There was one other clip that I wanted to play, but I don't think it's that important.
I'm looking at Tuesday.
They gave him a $50,000 bond that had to be paid in full, and then good behavior while he's released. I think he challenged that, and I think the judge sustained it and gave him ROR, but it was kind of hard to understand because the audio is all choppy. But he should be out and he should be talking about it on his show pretty soon. So that's that story. Enough of that. Oh shoot, was that not on the screen the whole time? Whatever. You guys could hear the audio. This is what it looks like.
The maximum sentence for that count is 25 years in prison and or a $500,000 fine. Count 2 is possession of ammunition or any firearm with the user of controlled substances. This is a gross misdemeanor, so the maximum sentence is 364 days in the Kansas County Jail and or a $3,000 fine. Count 3, endangerment of a child.
What was extremely rude? What the guy said to him in court? Or are you saying Terry is extremely rude? I don't get it. All right, that's that. People got no manner. Yeah, I know. The guy that came up in the guy that came in the court thing, that's who you're talking about? Yeah. Yeah, it's a mess. During court. What a joke of a system we have. Anyway, before we do meme time and reels, we're going to check in on this debate canceled. Rachel Wilson debate canceled. 63,000.
So you still
watching.
don't believe you can get Nubia's permanent teeth
Let's
in
check this
24
out.
hours? Well,
Do you want them to prosecute me for lying under oath because you, the judge, won't let me answer the question?
Yep.
And that's what he wanted.
I think what they do want is they want to send a message to any witnesses that they'll just claim it was a lie under oath. They will go after you for perjury no matter what. I mean, you look at Peter Navarro. You look
Scrolling through.
They will get you to testify.
President Trump talks immigration and war with Tim Pool, with Trump and Kash Patel. So I'm scrolling through what's been showing so far, and so far, Trump has not been shown on screen.
I were like, and obviously he's one of the
And this is the guy who represented. Didn't he work with OJ and
he was
Epstein?
OJ's lawyer and
like
Epstein's lawyer.
Okay, they haven't shown Trump on screen yet, when I slide through the bar here, they have not shown Trump yet. I have a feeling he's probably not in the studio. He's probably not live in studio, but he could be because it looks like they're not in their normal studio. So potentially maybe they went somewhere to meet him, or he's not in studio. Maybe he's going to do a digital appearance because they haven't shown him yet. We're only 5 minutes in. Or it could be just a pre-recorded segment. So I think they kind of hyped it up more than I wanted to see Trump sitting down in the studio with them. Now, maybe he's coming in later because I think it's a pretty, how long is Timcast usually? So we'll have to keep checking in periodically.
You bring up another point. Not only would the district attorney's office charge him with every felony for lying under oath, that judge specifically has contempt of court powers.
Yeah.
So the judge, you saw what he did to Costello, the world did, right? I mean, he literally did something nobody, including Alan Dershowitz, has ever seen. What do you think he's going to do to Trump?
I mean, he's already threatened him with jail time,
right. He's going to literally be like, I'm holding you in contempt, $1 million. I'm holding you in contempt. You're going to jail for a week.
And I want to just show this story briefly, just to make sure everybody.
I was like 7 feet away from that.
Anybody who might not understand. I mean, this is Politico. Are you staring me down right now? Key Trump defense witness draws judge's wrath. This.
Are you staring down the judge? Like you're not supposed to look at the judge? Anyway, he's not on there yet. I don't know if he's going to be in studio or if it's going to be a pre-recorded thing or what. But we will check back in with that periodically. But for now, let's keep the show rolling. I don't even see Timcast live yet. It's live. Ads are going to run in a minute, in a second. While the ads are about to run, I'm going to find my folder. We don't have a lot of memes this week. Let's let the ads play. Ads are playing. Ads inserted. Ads inserted. Oh, it's a premiere? It's not live? Oh, it is a premiere. Oh, you're right. See, that's what I told you. Probably pre-recorded. Yep. I didn't even notice that. Yeah, it is a premiere. Yeah, I have a feeling they weren't in studio. And for safety issues, they probably couldn't do it live. People in chat are saying, is Trump still not there? I bet Trump canceled. Trump will be late a little bit. Okay. All right. Tell me when you guys are back from the ads. And we're going to get started with the beep. First meme. I was going to use 2 straps, but I only needed 1. You ever need help moving? All you need is a Mexican with a pickup truck.
It's a man, baby.
That's all you need is a Mexican and a pickup truck, and you can move everything in one trip. Nice. Next. Getting a job now. Getting a job now. I have 2 degrees and my IQ is higher than 95% of the population. Sorry, you're not qualified enough to be a pizza delivery guy. No! Getting a job then. Tell me about yourself. I like to throw rocks at nerds. You're now a geologist.
It's a man, baby.
That's right. That's how you get a job, baby. Wait till I get my money right. Okay. Apparently, cardening is a thing. Cardening. Have you guys ever seen cardening? Bro, they got a succulent garden in their dang glove box. Cardening. I don't think these pictures are real. This cannot be a thing. As soon as you stop, your plants are going flying. There's no way this is real.
Beta!
Cardening. Next. What are they doing? Goku and Superman did the fusion dance. It's Chuck Norris. What? Goku and Superman fuse and they make Chuck Norris.
It's a man, baby.
Nice. All right, next. No caption for this one. No caption for this one. This is Ho Biden. Speaking of Ho Biden, did you know that one of Joseph Stalin's nicknames was Uncle Joe? So I think we should start calling this guy Uncle Joe. Old Uncle Joe. Uncle Joe with his ice cream at the Pride Parade.
Beta!
That's your president, guys. That's our president. Oh, man. What a sad state of America. Next! When Kid Rock said, bong with a thong, orangutan titties, I felt that. Bong with the thong, orangutan titty, biggie, get the book, get the tongue, doggy. I just got a noogie. Want to eat a cookie? Ball with the bong, the orangutan titties. That is a great song. My name is Kid. Kid, proud with the ball, the bang, the dang titties. Okay. I need to calm down. Next. Chun-Li. Chun-Li. Oh, look at little Chun-Li. Chun-Li, truth or dare? Truth. Where is Amy's dog? Dare. Chun-Li ate Amy's dog? No. Look! Someone just asked me if I was 7-Eleven or 9-11 brown. Oh, no. Oh, no, 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 no. 7-Eleven or 9-11 brown. She looked like a little bit yellow. She's cute, though. You work at the convenience store or you blow up the convenience store? Which one is it? Next! You can't just post someone's crack pipe and expect people to know who it is. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. I know exactly who that is. That's the president's son. Next. The face you make when your husband and daughter are missing and you hear the shower on. No!
Beta!
Oh, poor Jill. Get him out of the shower, Jill. Next. Only the government should have guns. A real Indian would know better. Elizabeth Warren.
Merry Christmas, Happy Schwanza, Happy Hanukkah.
That's not Warren. That's Pelosi saying that, but it's still funny. Next. Vogue. We got another Biden one. Vogue. Dr. Jill Biden was on the cover of Vogue. How to be a fake doctor. And her binder says Joe's diaper schedule. Nice. Very nice. Okay, next. This is why we can't see the client list. Because the vice president was hanging out with old Ip. That's why we can't see the client list. Next. Me watching the FBI raid my neighbor's house because they don't know that I use his Wi-Fi. Oh, no. Next. Beautiful mosaic of Kamala Harris made out of all the black men she locked up and kept in prison past their release date for jail labor. Hey, this is the guy that this is the lady that Jalen's going to vote for, the VP that Jalen's going to vote for. Right. Trump was the racist one. Right. Not Kamala and Joe. Not the Democrats. They could never be racist.
Who's murderous?
Oh, Kamala, she murdered a guy. When you believe the humans control the red dots, it's cats with aluminum foil helmets. When you believe the humans control the red dot. Crazy thing about this is that the conspiracy theorist cats are just as accurate as the regular conspiracy theorists. Next. Liberals present Stormy Daniels with a commemorative statue for her bravery. What the heck? What is that? Bro. When it rains, is that a water spout? When it rains, the water comes out of this? Where is this statue? Probably in Egypt or Africa somewhere. I wouldn't be surprised. It's like two Ferraris parked next to two garbage trucks. I don't know who these ladies are. Probably ladies that claim that Trump slept with them or something. But I know who these ladies are. Hey, what up? Ivanka and Melania. Get Laura up in that picture too. Ooh. Ooh. This is Trump ladies. These are ladies who claim that Trump slept with them. Yeah, right. Right. You wish you could sleep with him. You wish he would grab you by the meow. I don't have a meow sound effect. You wish he would grab you by that. Next. Bear. Bear. Guar. Oh, thank God, a man. It's ma'am. It's a man. Oh, thank God, a man. It's ma'am.
It's a man, baby.
Hold on, I haven't looked at chat in a second. What's chat saying? That's Clinton and her daughter. That is it? That's not Clinton. That's Hillary Clinton? I guess maybe, yeah. Is it? It doesn't. I've never seen her with glasses on, but yeah, I guess you're right. It doesn't look like normally when I see Hillary. Are they saying, oh, like first wife and first daughter, first wife and first daughter? Okay, I get it. You're right. Okay, yeah, now the meme makes more sense. Okay, yeah. First wife, first daughter, first wife, first daughter. Right. That makes sense. Okay. It didn't look like Hillary. So actually a better sound effect would have been
Oh, Clinton, he murdered a guy.
Next. Pride Month in the Middle East. This is what Pride Month in the Middle East looks like. It's just a stone's throw away. Next. Support for the 19th Amendment decreases sharply after this. I didn't support it in the first place, but 100% agree with that Babylon B. Thank you. Next. Women with a time machine. I am your granddaughter. Oh, really? Men with a time machine. We have a bigger one made of glass in Memphis, Tennessee. There's a Bass Pro Shop inside. This Bass Pro Shop must be a powerful king. This is funny that this is a meme, and I say that all the time. I always say the pyramids are not that impressive. It's a pile of rocks. We have one made of glass in Las Vegas that shoots a beam of light up to the sky that you can see from space. And it has casinos inside of it. I've made this exact same argument. This Luxor casino must be a powerful king. This Luxor. Next. Feminists as soon as the World War III draft starts. Oh, now all of a sudden you want to clean dishes and make dinner and vacuum and do the laundry. Now all of a sudden you want to be a housewife. Huh. Okay. I get it. I see it. Now you want to be a trad wife. You don't want to be drafted. I get it. Next. When you're in the club and the DJ puts on Cotton Eye Joe. Where do you come from? Where do you go? Where do you come from, Cotton Eye Joe? Where do you come from? Where do you go? Where do you come from, Cotton Eye Joe? Next. You shared the same meme 3 months ago. Me. I'm an old man and I'm confused. Duh. Yeah, occasionally we might get the same one twice. It might happen, okay? Calm down. Next. The truth has no defense against a fool determined to live a lie. Mark Twain. That's not really a meme, but interesting. Scientist in remote Antarctic outpost stabs colleague who told him the endings of the books he was reading. Oh no, this guy. No! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! This is me. If I was in Antarctica, I'd be spoiling all the books. I would get stabbed. I wonder if he stabbed him with an icicle. That's how you get away with murder. Next! Philosophy professors, 3-year-olds, and the Backstreet Boys. What do they all have in common in this beautiful Venn diagram? Tell me why ain't nothing but a heartache. Tell me why ain't nothing but a mistake. Philosophy professors, tell me why. 3-year-olds, I never wanna be that way. I want it that way. 'Cause I know I am gay. No, don't clip that. Next, there is no more. That's the end of the memes. Okay. Told you I didn't have a lot of memes this week. Not a whole lot of memes this week. All right. Let's burn through rapid fire, then we'll talk about Joseph Stalin for a little while, watch a little documentary. I watched like a 2-hour documentary on Stalin, and I wish that we could play that, but we don't have time to play that whole thing. So we're just going to play a little 20-minute one that I have not watched yet. I watched the biographies video. I watched a like 2-hour documentary, but we played a biographies video last week, so we're going to play a different one this week from another website. But before we do that, let's look at some reels. Let's do rapid fire. A stone's throw away. Okay. Open this folder. We have a lot of rapid fire news, so we're going to burn through it quick. First, we got finger puppet ninjas.
I remember.
Ninja finger puppets. This is anime with finger puppets. All right, let's go. I don't know if this music's copyright, but this is pretty epic. Bro took Thumb Wars to a whole nother level.
But still predictable. Predict this. Predict this. You are.
That's pretty epic. Pretty epic, if I do say so myself. Okay.
Can I come inside now?
This is how you punish your kids in the modern day. He said, Dad, can I come inside now?
Dawson, you are grounded. No.
Well, all my friends tell me that when they're grounded, they're not allowed to go outside.
Well, it's different for you because you would rather be inside. Your punishment is to be outside. You need to be a kid. Do something.
Well, there's nothing to do out here.
There's a lot of things you can do.
Like what?
Climb a tree. Jump the fence. I don't really care. Go ding dong ditch the neighbor.
It's so boring.
It's not boring. You have to be creative.
What?
Listen, I used to find stuff to do outside.
No, you didn't.
Yeah,
No,
go
you didn't.
throw a stone
No,
at
you
something.
didn't. Go throw a stone at something.
What about our neighbor?
No.
What about our neighbor?
What do you want to do inside anyways?
Just watch YouTube shorts and just take a nap.
Dude, that's the problem. No. When you quit bending that thing, It is a big deal.
Can I come inside now? No, you're grounded. That's awesome. Okay. Next. Oh, this is fun.
A woman's.
This is a woman's brain. A woman's brain. Okay, let me tell you about a woman's brain. This guy's funny. Woman's brain.
A woman's brain is divided into two sides. A woman's brain is divided into two sides, where we have the left side and the right side. On the left side of a woman's brain, there is nothing right. And on the right side of a woman's brain, there is nothing left. Hey! I don't want peace. I want problems always.
On the left side of a woman's brain, there is nothing right. On the right side of a woman's brain, there is nothing left. Epic. Epic. Let's go.
It's a man, baby.
Next. This is gonna get me copyright. This is the Not Like Us remix for old men. Not like them.
Turn that music down, I'm trying to sleep, folk. Please, bro, I'm a light sleeper, not a peep, yo. Man down, call the ambulance, I can't breathe, bro. Play ball once last month, still walk around like my knee broke. What's up with all these doctors? They don't know my hip, it keep popping. Every time I get to stepping, it just keep locking. How many
I gotta pause to talk. How many medications? What? My alarm going off. Anyway, the old heads remix of They Not Like Us. They Not Like Us. They Not Like Us.
medication should I take? It's too many options. I'm friends with the mailman like John Stockton. I'ma chill and read the Bible cause God watching. Sometimes you got to stay in, no show niggas. Shout out to Netflix, I'm the type to binge a show with them. Friends steady calling when they know Unc got some old in them. Ozempic for diabetes, that sugar low in them. I think they mistake me for young. My diabetes is my lightest type 1. This young gang on me at work and she in love. She better make sure keep her older sister from me. I pulled up to the Goodwill with all my hand-me-downs. I gotta pass up on them parties cause I'm old now. Them hoes be looking at my fit like why is he around? All my health records in a zip folder, mega foul. What? Heart acting up. What? Blood pressure up. The last time I thought my time had expired, did an EKG and almost was a flatliner. I'm not like them. 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 I'ma stand. I'ma catch up on sleep. I'm a nap time guy. Catch up on sleep. I'm a nap time guy. Hey, just got prescribed. Hey, just got prescribed.
That's pretty epic. Epic remix. Okay. I like that meme that says women make the best archaeologists due to their natural ability to dig up the past. Yep. All right, one more reel. Wow, what's this one? Oh, dumb kid. Dumb kid. These are always funny.
I don't know. I haven't done something.
He said, what's a shape with 4 sides? Is what he asked him.
Something with shape since like 5th grade. Kind of so.
Yeah, if you had a guess.
I don't know. Like I don't. All right. I know what shapes have 4 sides, but I don't know the name for it.
Yes. Can you name 3 countries besides the USA?
Alabama.
That's 1.
New Mexico.
2.
And Connecticut.
3. It's too easy for you. What is 1 quarter plus 2 dimes?
1 quarter plus 2.
How much money is that?
That's 65 cents. Is it? 65 cents?
Yes. What is a shape with 4 sides?
Kids are dumb. Kids are dumb. Okay, let's do rapid fire news. Burn through some of these headlines. More tornadoes. More tornadoes. We've been talking about the tornadoes for a while now, but they just keep coming. Deadly storms sweep through the South, leaving trail of destruction in Texas, Arkansas, and Oklahoma. It's like each state, they're just making their way through all the states. These tornadoes are everywhere. Hold on, where's my chat? They have the dumb. They got the dumb. Rhombus, square, bruh. Deadly tornadoes strike the middle of the country.
Of first responders as they rushed to send help.
It's from
But we still have
NBC.
2, 3, 4, 5 calls for dramatic injuries in singer areas as well.
We have a mass casualty at this truck stop. Major structural damage collapse.
And in Claremore, Oklahoma, there is widespread damage after storms hit there.
Oh, there it is.
Damn.
Go, go, go. Go, go, go.
Tornado chasers.
In all, more than 20 reported tornadoes touched down across 5 different states, including Kansas, Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Missouri. Right now, there are more than 250.
Bill Gates playing with the Daddy Gates playing with the dang cloud machine.
1,000 people without power as those severe storms remain on the move this morning. Joe?
All right, Priscilla Thompson, thank you so much. Let's bring in NBC meteorologist Angie Lastman with a look at what's still to come. Angie, good morning. I know these storms still...
All right, so tornadoes still going on all over the world. Crazy. What else we got? U.S. Army aid vessels. So we got some Israel updates. Remember the pier they made? We said we're not going to put troops on the ground in Israel, so instead we just built a pier off of the Gaza Strip, a floating pier. And U.S. Army aid vessels become unmoored near floating Gaza pier. What's that mean? They came detached from the pier and they're like floating away? 4 U.S. Army vessels supporting the humanitarian floating pier mission in Gaza became unmoored in rough seas. 2 vessels are now anchored on a Gaza beach near the pier. The U.S. Central Command said in a statement that the other 2 are beached further north. Israeli forces are assisting recovery efforts near the pier, and no U.S. personnel will enter Gaza. No, we're just going to sit right outside of Gaza on a floating pier that we made. No injuries reported, and the pier remains fully functional. Okay. And then one more kind of big news, more big news from Israel. Hamas launches, this from BBC, Hamas launches rocket attack towards Tel Aviv. Hamas says it has launched a big rocket attack at the Tel Aviv area in Central Island. Luckily, they have the Iron Dome. We fund all their missiles and their defenses and their intelligence and all that stuff, so they're probably all right. Hours later, Palestinian health and civilian officials said dozens of Palestinians have been killed. Now, why would Hamas launch a rocket attack at Tel Aviv? Dozens of Palestinians have been killed and injured in an Israeli strike on an area in the southern Gaza city of Rafah, where displaced people were sheltered. So I guess Israel sent some missiles at Rafah, and then Hamas launched a big rocket attack at Tel Aviv. We're not going to read all this, but let's see. UN says more than 800,000 Palestinians have fled Rafah. And they're all coming to America. About 1.5 million have been sheltering there from the fighting elsewhere in Gaza. So, Israel updates. Here's an interesting one for the Indians. Native American tribes unanimously approve Colorado River water rights proposal that would cost Congress $5 billion. Navajo Nation has the largest land base of all federally recognized tribes and is second in population with more than 400,000 cities. Cost Congress $5 billion. The Navajo Nation Council is unanimously, we'll just watch the video. There's going to be an ad, though. Navajo Nation Council has unanimously approved a proposed water rights settlement. Navajo, Hopi, and San Juan Southern Paiute tribes are seeking more than $5 billion as part of their settlement, more than any such agreement enacted by Congress. The Navajo Nation, one of the largest outstanding claims in the Colorado River Basin, has worked for generations to secure water deliveries for tribal communities. Nearly a third of homes in the Navajo Nation don't have running water. Many homes in Hopi lands are similarly situated. So it's our job to make sure you have running water too. You have casinos, they have running water. You know how much water usage? Vegas is like one of the it's like the third driest state, something like that. It's like the third driest state, but it has like the third highest water consumption because of all the water features. Anyway, that's just a fun fact.
First year that I
Mexico is supposed to send over a certain amount of water to the lower Rio Grande Valley, but Mexico is running
Fox
behind
News.
on its obligations.
This is the first year that I have zero irrigation water.
Ryan Jones has been farming near the border for almost 40 years. He's seeing a huge
look
drop
white.
in crops because of the lack of irrigation water from Mexico.
I've got only half my farm planted, and the other half is sitting idle right now because we don't have the water to take care of the crops.
A 1944 treaty requires Mexico to supply the U.S. with so many acres.
This is not related. Why do they do this? This is about Texas. This is about Texas. This is an unrelated video. Anyway, $5 billion. Maybe this is related. Let's keep watching. Maybe it is
of
related.
water, but Mexico is behind on its deliveries.
Right now,
We're getting water
there should
delivered
be
from
either
Mexico.
corn
Remember they were saying the wall? We can't do the wall because we're not going to get water. This is BS. I call BS on this.
or cotton growing here. And right now, that corn would be 6 to 7 foot tall because we don't have the sufficient irrigation water. I don't have but half the farm planted.
Professor Luis Rivera helped create a report of the potential loss for the U.S. if there were no irrigation water in the region.
The direct impact for.
Anyway, I don't know what that has to do with the Native American $5 billion. But anyway, that's that. What else? Space news. We got another once-in-a-lifetime event. I told you they happen every month now. Every month there's a once-in-a-lifetime lunar or astrological freaking event. Every month now is a once-in-a-lifetime event. Saw the eclipse and the aurora. Now comes a third once-in-a-lifetime event. The comet of the year is getting brighter in the wake of total solar eclipse and the sudden solar superstorms. It's looking more likely that we'll also see a naked eye comet later in this year. Comet Suchinshan Atlas is now getting brighter and growing a tail. Traveling between the orbits of Mars and Jupiter for now, Comet A3 is only observable in a large telescope. It's in the constellation Virgo. Comets visible to the naked eye are notoriously difficult to predict in advance, but this one is expected to brighten substantially during October. So you get to see a comet. You get to see a comet coming out of Uranus. Okay, space news is over. This next one is crazy. This next one is kind of wild. What's chat saying? Raza Gaza Orale pier is going to end up in Crete. What a mess. I know I have issues. NASA needs funding. Yeah, it's got a tail. It's like a monkey. It's like a monkey comet. Swinging around by its tail. Listen to this from People magazine. God's influencer, 15 years old, is set to become the first millennial saint after Pope Francis recognizes second miracle. First off, if you're 15, are you a millennial? Oh, wait. A teenager who died at age 15. Oh, okay. Okay. He died at 15 in 2006, so that makes him a millennial. He's not currently 15. Okay, that makes sense. Okay. We have a 15-year-old millennial saint who did miracles on the internet. If this makes you a miracle worker, then PewDiePie and Mr. Beast did miracles. God's influencer, 15 years old, set to become first millennial saint. Do you have to be dead to be a saint? Teenager who died at age 15 is set to become the first millennial saint. Pope Francis met with Marcelo Cimararo, the predict of Congregation for the Cause of Saints, and attributed a second miracle. I think you have to do 2 miracles to be a saint. To the late Carlo Acutis, per the Vatican News. Acutis, who has been called God's influencer, was born in London and died from leukemia in 2006 in Italy. His body currently lies on display in an open tomb. Dude, I keep hearing stories about these open tombs where they just got people chilling. They did it with Lenin. They did it with Mao. They did it with this kid. He'd be the first person born in the early 1980s or late 1990s to achieve sainthood, although that it's not yet known that when this may happen. Pope Francis already beatified Acutis in 2020. Process is a recognition awarded by the Catholic Church of a deceased person's entrance into heaven and their capacity to intercede on behalf of individuals who pray in their name. So if you guys want to pray to a 15-year-old, a passed away 15-year-old kid who did some stuff on the internet, he can talk to Jesus for you. The late teenager who was a web designer and documented Eucharistic miracles was attributed with his first miracle for healing a young Brazilian boy from annular pancreas, which is a rare congenital disease per online Catholic News. According to the Vatican, the second miracle relates to a woman named Liliana from Costa Rica, whose daughter Valeria was left with severe head trauma and multiple other injuries after falling from a bicycle in Florence, where she was a university student. The website stated doctors had said she had a low chance of survival before Liliana's secretary started praying on Acutis on July 8th that year. Liliana traveled to Acutis' tomb in Assisi, and that same day her daughter began to breathe spontaneously. This guy's doing miracles on the internet after he's dead. He's gonna be a 15-year-old saint. Okay. All right. Interesting. Okay. I don't know about all that, but anyway. What do we got? 4 girls hurt during CBS News. 4 girls hurt during unprovoked stabbing attack in AMC Theater near Boston. Suspect arrested. Remember I told you we're going to see a lot more stabbing stories coming out, so just wanted to throw that in there. I think this is the suspect being arrested. That's the AMC Theater. Anyway, another stabbing story. Local news from me. This was kind of interesting to me. Salt Lake City Police Department arrested over 30 people on popular Utah trails. So basically, the Jordan River Trail, since they closed the homeless shelter, the Jordan River Trail, which runs all through Salt Lake City, became basically where all the homeless people went. They all live along the river. But this is a river with trails that go through suburban areas, neighborhoods, goes through the middle of the city, and they're nice trails that you can walk along the river and stuff. But they turned it into the homeless row where all the homeless people would be along the river. And I guess they were all selling fentanyl and drugs and meth and stuff. Cops arrested 30 of them. They did a sting operation and they took over 30 people along the river. So that's pretty interesting. Local news. Mexican cartels taking over the tortilla industry. Bro, they already own the avocado industry. If you ever buy an avocado, you're basically paying the cartels. Now they own the tortilla industry. So if you're making an avocado tortilla, you might as well just be a dang MS-13 gang member. They're taking over the dang tortilla industry. Mexican cartels wiped out competition in U.S. fentanyl market. Across Mexico, the cartels are setting the price of goods for local businesses, including many of the tortilla shops. The newspaper reported officials told the Post that tortilla shops that refuse to pay the money cartels demand from them are either set on fire or shot at. Wow. Good job, Mexico. Yeah, let's just keep the border open and bring them all over here. When they get their tortilla shop burnt down, we can save them. And then when the cartels come in and then exploit businesses in America, we'll just let that happen. We'll just let that happen. One last rapid fire story. I don't even know if this is real. It's only interesting because it has to do with what we're about to talk about. The Romanovs, we've talked about the Romanovs with Lenin last week. And it ties in also with Stalin this week in our Dissecting a Dictator segment. But here's your chance to grab tiny Fabergé animals once owned by the Romanovs. The carved menagerie is estimated to fetch $1.2 million at auction. If you want a Fabergé hamster that was owned by the Romanovs, you can buy it for a mere $2 million. And there's a bunch of them, too. There's a little monkey. There's a monkey. Looks like he's licking his booty hole. A little lizard guy. A little alligator lizard. Fabergé. The most unusual item hailing from the royal household is a comical Boanite frog doing a handstand. It features a cabochon ruby, eyes and mouth set with diamonds. Fabergé handstand frog owned by the Romanovs. You could have it yourself. There's a little dove thing, pigeon, a little piggy. This collection has been amassed through a pure love of Fabergé's inimitable animals for their craftsmanship, quality, and unique personalities that they convey. While I'm sad to be parting with them, I hope they will go to be treasured by the same way I have loved them over the last 8 years. So if you guys want a Fabergé monkey licking his butt, see no evil. Oh, it's see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil, but he's doing hear no evil with his legs. Also some weird sort of sexual innuendo going on here, but if you guys want to have a Fabergé Romanov animal, because the Romanovs are dead. They dead. You can buy one for a couple mil if you got a couple mil. And that's it for the rapid fire news. Okay. All right, one last segment. Let's check in on Timcast. They not like us.
This is unprecedented about the phone call. I was a phone call talking to them about paying off Stormy Daniels. And then the prosecution, or the defense says, you were actually talking about a prank phone call. Were you not? That was a lie. And then here's the proof. And then they reported a pin drop moment like it was a TV movie.
His administration, he was expanding the military. There needs to be larger accountability.
Escape. That was the problem with Lake and Ryan.
So Texas said we are not doing voter roll cleanup. And these numbers are incorrect because we have
who's in our voter roll. Immigration, especially the border. That's great. That's really important.
He's still not there. And this isn't even lives. It's a premiere, so we can just catch up later. But he's...
And I think then the next step is to talk about our legal immigration system. Are there things we can be doing?
They're an hour into the show, and he hasn't shown up yet. This chat is so funny. Trump on Timcast equals Beanie Man talking about himself for 2 hours. 0% 99% podcast, 1% Trump. Yeah, he's probably gonna do like it's probably gonna be a quick little pre-recorded snippet at the end. I don't like that. That's clickbait. That's clickbait, Tim. Tim, that's clickbait. All right, guys. Let's get in. Hold on. Let's get into our Dissecting a Dictator time. This week on Dissecting a Dictator, we're going to be talking about Joseph Stalin, Uncle Joe, the Great Terror, the Great Purge, and the birth of the Gulag. He was inspired by Lenin. He killed his own soldiers. He killed his own family. 18 million people enslaved. He's attributed with up to 20 million deaths. The USSR, Russia, Stalingrad. We're going to be talking about Joseph Stalin. That's not even his real name. That's a nickname that he made up. Man of Steel. The Man of Steel. This guy thought he was Superman. Is he the worst? Could be one of the worst. Let's look in to Joseph Stalin. All right. All right, guys. I got my articles open here. First, we'll look at a couple pictures of old Stalin boy. Then we'll watch a 20-minute documentary that I have not previewed. I did do some research. I watched a 2-hour documentary, and this guy was crazy. This guy was ruthless. He killed his own family. He killed his own soldiers. I've been reading Gulag Archipelago. The gulags, the interrogations, they would have a quota of a certain number of people you had to catch and kill. And so everybody was just pointing fingers at everybody else. And they started making up stories because they had to meet a quota for a certain number of people that had to die. Stalin was crazy. Let's look at some pictures of old Stally boy right here. Joseph Stalin. In his young age, in his coffin, I guess that would be his old age. Probably another one of those coffins you can go visit him today and look at him, which is so weird. The Red Army. No, was he the Red Army? That was somebody else. But the Great Terror, the Great Purge. We'll learn about all those things today. We'll look into the gulags. We'll look into the Great Purge. Here's some images. Here's a little portrait of him. This guy was nuts. I think he's the worst so far. Lenin wasn't really that bad. Lenin didn't seem that bad compared to Stalin. Pol Pot was crazy and dumb. Killed a lot of people. Mao killed the most people so far. And I think of everybody we're going to talk about, because we're only doing 2 more weeks of this, we've been covering a lot of left-wing communist dictators. Next week, we're going to go to Mussolini and the birth of fascism, which was a right-wing dictator. And then we're going to wrap up with Hitler, who is debatable whether he was right-wing or left-wing. I've heard good arguments made for both. I consider him left-wing, but I kind of just say that just to piss off liberals. But he might have been right-wing. Hitler was crazy too. But Stalin, he didn't kill the most. Mao killed the most. Mao killed the most of anybody that we're going to talk about. But I think so far, Stalin was the craziest. The most ruthless and crazy guy. And he wasn't a dummy like Pol Pot. He was an intellectual. Also, just like Lenin, exiled to Siberia. And I believe he met his wife in Siberia, also like Lenin. But let's read his biography from Encyclopedia Britannica real quick. We're not going to read all of this. Or should we just watch the thing? Let's just read the first outline paragraphs, and then we'll watch. Born December 18th, 1878. Gory, Georgian Russian Empire. Died March 5th, Moscow, Russia. He was the Secretary General, and his name was not actually Stalin. He was the Secretary General of the Communist Party of the Soviet Union and Premier of the Soviet State from 1941 to 1953, who, for a quarter of a century, dictatorially ruled the Soviet Union and transformed it into a major world power. During the quarter of a century preceding his death, the Soviet dictator Joseph Stalin probably exercised greater political power than any other figure in history. Yeah, he was a dictator. We're dissecting a dictator. This guy was a dictator. This guy was just killing his own soldiers. He killed everybody. Stalin industrialized the Union of Soviet, and it's not like Mao, who caused 2 million deaths because of starvation. Stalin was just executing people. locking them up in gulags and killing them, torturing them and killing them. Not the same as Mao, who 200 million people died due to starvation under Mao because of his mismanagement of agriculture. We're going to see some more common themes. More, they're trying to advance industrialization and agriculture and things like that. So they're making people do farming who don't know how to farm, and the government takes control of the food supply, and then people start starving. There's quotas to fill. The farmers are lying. They don't know how to grow anything, and they're lying about the amount of food they have, because if they don't, they get killed, and they're starving. In the Gulag Archipelago, I read that some families would get a half a loaf of bread for a month. That was their rations. So there was starving and stuff too, but Stalin was also just going around executing people, his own family. Stalin industrialized the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, forcibly collectivized its agriculture, consolidated his position by intensive police terror, helped to defeat Germany in 1941 and 1945. That's important. Oh crap! I hit a button. Oh, I just lost my spot. Where was I at? I lost my spot. Oh crap! What the heck? Hold on. Lenin's successor. I lost my spot. Anyway, we're gonna watch a documentary in a second. We'll look at these pictures and read a little bit of this article from BBC before we watch the documentary. So we got multiple sources here for the source people. Encyclopedia Britannica, BBC. We have some Wikipedia. We have a YouTube video. I'll have to Google that Nick guy. Young Joe looks like Nick G's brother. Jizzle Sizzle. Jizzle Stizzle. That was not his real name. Was not Jizzle Stizzle. Check the video description, JS. It's after an hour and a half. What video? Faber JD's nuts. Oh man, if you ever make homemade flour tortillas so good and fluffy, you just need lots of lard. Well, everybody's gonna be making homemade flour tortillas now that the freaking cartels own the tortilla factories. Tortillas laced with fentanyl. It's a fentanyl. Okay, Joseph Stalin, national hero or cold-blooded murderer? They always like pose this question like these dictators were heroes in some way. No, not a hero. How did Stalin get away with murder? From BBC. Stalin's name meant man of steel, and he lived up to it. This is Superman. He oversaw the war machine that helped defeat Nazism and was the supreme ruler of the Soviet Union for a quarter of a century. His regime of terror caused the death and suffering of tens of millions, but this powerful man began life as the son of an alcoholic cobbler and a doting mother who sent him to study to be a priest. In 1879, he was born into poverty. He is first named Losif, which is Joseph Vissarionovich. Losif Vissarionovich. Vissarionovich. Losif Vissarionovich Zugasvili. Losif Vissarionovich Zugasvili. Losif Vissarionovich Zugasvili. See, this is why I struggle to read Gulag Archipelago. Joseph grows up in poverty. His mother is a washerwoman, and his father is a cobbler. He catches smallpox age 7 and is left with a pockmarked face and slightly deformed left arm. He's bullied. He feels continual need to prove himself. His father is an alcoholic who deals out regular beatings. As young Joseph grows up, Georgia's romantic folklore and anti-Russian traditions capture his imagination. In 1899, he rebels against the priesthood. In 1901, the Revolutionary Bandit. While working as a clerk at the Meteorological Observatory, Joseph carries on with his revolutionary activities, organizing strikes and protests. And his brother ended up assassinating somebody, and then his activists became known as the Tsar's secret police, and he was forced to go underground. He joins the Bolshevik Party and conducts guerrilla warfare for the first time in 1905 Russian Revolution. His first meeting with Lenin, the Bolshevik leader, is at a party conference in Finland. Lenin is impressed by his ruthless underground operator. In 1907, Stalin steals 250,000 rubles in a bank robbery in Tiflis to help fund the cause. And he escaped from jail like 3 times too. So he's robbing banks and escaping from jail. This is the man of steel. But also he wasn't respected. Like when he was on the come up, nobody thought he was gonna be anything. And there was a quote in the long documentary that I watched. I liked that long documentary, but it's like 2 hours. We can't watch the whole thing on the show. But they go over how a lot of quotes. And there were quotes of people saying there's no way he's going to grow. If he ever tries to get big, we'll take him out. In 1917, he takes part in the Russian Revolution. In 1929, I'll show you guys the pictures. So there's him as a boy. There's him in 1899. Then he becomes the Revolutionary Bandit, the Man of Steel. There's his first wife, Ketavan Svandits. Lenin speaks at first all-Russian Congress of Soviets with Stalin at his side. Stalin promotes himself to dictator in 1929. After Lenin's death in 1924, Stalin begins ruthlessly promoting himself as his political heir. Many in the party expect Red Army leader Leon Trotsky, so he ousted Trotsky, to be Lenin's natural successor, but his ideas are too idealistic for the majority of the Communist Party. Stalin, however, develops his own nationalistic brand of Marxism, socialism in one country, concentrating on strengthening the Soviet Union rather than world revolution. When Trotsky criticizes his plan, Stalin has him exiled. Stalin's ideas are popular with the party, and by the late 1920s, he becomes dictator of the Soviet Union. Rapid industrialization from 1928 to 1938, and they were actually succeeding with their industrialization efforts. They were catching up to America. But they caught up to the rest of the world, and they were losing the race, the industrialization race with the whole world. And in 10 years, they became number 2. They never surpassed America, but they became number 2 in the world within 10 years under Stalin. Collectivization causes massive famines. The propaganda in the documentary was amazing. The propaganda that they would put out. If you've ever seen the movie The Interview, or if you've ever seen real life when was it Xi Jinping that visited California and Gavin Newsom cleaned up the streets? We can see it happening in America in real time now. But in the movie The Interview, they talk about it. And then in California, we see it happen. Well, they did the same thing. French like aristocrats would come visit Russia, and they would clean up the streets, and they would have like fake stores. They would give everybody food for that week and say, eat, look healthy, give them food. And then the aristocrats would come in and say, everybody looks healthy and fed. And then they'd put out propaganda videos saying how great they were doing. And it was all a lie. Just like Joe Biden and Gavin Newsom lied to Xi Jinping about how nice California is. 1934 to 1939 is the Great Terror. We'll read about the Great Terror, also known as the Great Purge, after we watch the documentary. He lost his wife and his son. Now, I'm pretty sure his one wife killed herself, allegedly. But I'm pretty sure he killed his first family. He bargains with the Nazis. Yeah, they made an agreement. They came to an agreement, but then he ends up defeating Hitler in 1943. 1946, the Iron Curtain falls over Europe. 1953, the death of Stalin and the end of the era. So we'll watch the documentary, and then we'll read about the gulags and the Great Purge. But let's watch. I haven't watched this yet. Hopefully the music isn't. We'll have to keep our eye on the worst case scenario. If it turns yellow because of this music, then we will cut to the biographies one, because I know they won't hit me with a copyright. But let's watch this.
And a general, a great modernizer and a ruthless tyrant, Joseph Stalin could claim to be them all. One of the most influential figures of the 20th century, he would rise from humble beginnings to become the leader of the Soviet Union, one of the world's largest superpowers, being unafraid to sacrifice anything or anyone to achieve power. His political opponents would be shot.
I've watched a bunch of these. I'm gonna play it and go grab some coffee. I'll be right back.
His own citizens would be hunted down by the secret police, and millions would be sentenced to back-breaking work in the Gulag labor camps. This is the story of Joseph Stalin. Yosef Jugashvili, later to be known as Joseph Stalin, was born on December 6, 1878, in the small Georgian town of Gori, on the outskirts of the Russian Empire. His mother was a skilled dressmaker, and his father was a successful cobbler, with the boy experiencing a comfortable upbringing. But it was not to last. His father would turn to drink and began beating him, eventually abandoning the family entirely. Wanting the best for her son, Stalin's
mom looks like a nun. I wonder if she was Buddhist too. A lot of these guys got Buddhist mamas.
mother would send him off to a theological school, where she hoped he could climb the social hierarchy by becoming a priest.
Was she Catholic? Were they Catholic? She looked Catholic there. She wanted him to be a priest. Priest is Catholic, right?
Stalin was a model student, known for his hard work and his singing in the church choir. But as he entered his late teenage years, he would become disillusioned with religious life. During his third year at the seminary, he would join an illegal book club, becoming inspired by the stories of the fictional Georgian hero Koba, a name he would...
I told you book burning was good sometimes. A little bit of fascism, once we get on to Mussolini, a little bit of fascism goes a long way. Not a lot, not too much. Just the right amount of authoritarianism and fascism.
Later use as his own during his early years as a revolutionary. He would also be highly influenced by the works of Karl Marx and his theories known as Marxism, one of the most popular forms of socialism at the time. Stalin would soon develop an interest in politics and would become involved with a group of social democrats.
He doesn't look Russian, he looks Mexican.
A revolutionary socialist party.
See all these white-looking guys? Now I know they did a little extra colorization on his picture. This is artificial coloring because you see how everything's else washed out. But they did a little colorization here, but he looks Mexican.
Party who aimed to overthrow the Russian monarchy.
That would explain the Catholic stuff.
As Stalin's involvement in revolutionary politics continued to grow, his grades and reputation at the seminary would begin to decline, with him being expelled in 1899 after failing to attend his daily prayers and being found in the possession of illegal literature.
A young revolutionary.
At the age of 22...
Did this guy just read the Encyclopedia Britannica thing, or the BBC thing that I just read?
Following a wave of harsh crackdowns by the authorities, Stalin would leave his old life behind and go into hiding, becoming a full-time revolutionary. Despite his young age, he would be described by his colleagues as exceptionally vicious and vindictive, willing to apply the most extreme measures in his attempts to dominate the party, with him soon rising to the top of the local revolutionary league.
So they skipped over the part where he got arrested and escaped from jail 3 times, which is crazy. What kind of jails are these? Y'all don't have no security in that dang jail? It's not easy to escape from jail once. He did it 3 times.
Leadership. Stalin would soon find himself drawn to the teachings of Vladimir Lenin, the leader of a socialist
war tanks
faction known as the Bolsheviks, who followed a more radical and military...
Duh, that makes sense. Yeah, Eastern Orthodox, yeah, that makes sense. You're right. And that guy did look like an Orthodox, that weird hat. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Course of action. Stalin would quickly become a leading Bolshevik in Georgia and the surrounding area, and while living with a colleague, he would meet his first wife, Yekaterina Svanitsa, with the couple marrying in 1906. Less than a year later, Stalin's first son, Yakov, would be born.
Yakov!
But the dangerous life of a revolutionary did not mix well with family. After travelling to the city of Baku with her husband, Yekaterina would fall seriously ill, dying in November 1907. Her death would have a profound effect on Stalin, and at the funeral he would state, "This creature softened my heart of stone. She died, and with her died my last warm feelings for humanity." Unable to deal with his grief, Stalin would abandon his 8-month-old son Yakov to be raised by his mother's family, not returning to see him for several years. As the years went on, Stalin would rise through the ranks of the Bolsheviks, becoming known for his ruthless methods.
Yeah, the other documentary I watched was way better. It had video footage and stuff. It's just too long to play. But I don't know if I have it saved. I'll show you guys.
Raising money through armed robberies, protection rackets and ransoms. In 1912, he would adopt the name Stalin, meaning man of steel. But Stalin's newfound fame would also make him a high-priority target for the police. In 1913, he would be caught and sentenced to 4 years of exile in Siberia, an inhospitable region of eastern Russia. It would be one of Stalin's lowest points. During this period, he suffered with poor health and became increasingly depressed in his...
If you want to watch a longer, better documentary, this YouTube channel is called Best Documentary. Stalin, the Red Terror, full documentary. This is an hour and 23 minutes long, and it's got video. This one's way more informative. Has a lot more. It has video. This one's way cooler, but we don't have time to watch all of it in the stream. But if you want to, Best Documentary, Stalin, the Red Terror for the full documentary.
Isolation, with the 35-year-old seeking companionship with a local 14-year-old girl, with it being rumoured the two had a child together. He would slowly stop producing revolutionary works, and in 1915, Lenin would famously forget his last name. For Stalin, it appeared the revolutionary dream was over.
Lenin forgot his name. Oh, I bet that pissed him off.
In 1917, while still in exile, Stalin would receive the news that he had been working towards for over 15 years. Revolution had taken place in Russia. Russia's population, over 100 million people.
Okay, we got some video. Is this... Now, I don't know if this is real video or from a movie that was made or something. Is this the... Is this when they overthrew that... When Lenin overthrew that palace? The storming of the Winter Palace?
Had suffered years of oppression, discontent and poverty.
Yeah, this is
coupled with the horrendous failures of the First World War and the personal failings of Russia's monarch. Tsar Nicholas II would be executed, ending 300 years of his family's rule, with a provisional government being established to take control of the country. Stalin was soon released from his exile and made his way back to central Russia with a renewed sense of purpose. But his mentor Lenin was still unsatisfied.
I think he found his second wife in exile, just like Lenin found his wife in exile, which made me think, makes me kind of rethink my banishment or exile idea that we should just banish people to the wilderness. Because what happens is they gang up in the wilderness, and then all the criminals get together and they uprise and they try to take you over. That's why you got to have a moat with alligators and sharks with lasers on their heads and freaking space lasers and turrets, machine gun turrets, and all sorts of stuff. You got to defend your home from the wilderness folk. You got to have a wall.
Calling for yet another revolution that would see a socialist government take power. However, there was significant resistance within the party towards his ideas, with Stalin openly expressing his opposition. To get Stalin on his side, Lenin would give him a place on the Bolshevik Central Committee, granting him a large amount of influence and his first real taste of power.
We're moving on
Stalin
up,
would quickly
moving
devote
on up.
himself to Lenin's cause, and that October, the Bolsheviks would stage a second revolution, removing the provisional government from power and establishing themselves as leaders of the country. As a leading Bolshevik, Stalin was now one of the most powerful men in the country, but the struggle was not finished. The revolution would lead to 5 years of civil war, an exceptionally brutal period that would shape Stalin into the cruel and ruthless leader he would later become. During the Civil War, he would be appointed to the city of Tsaritsyn by Lenin to acquire grain for the Bolsheviks and to organize the local fighting forces. But lacking any military knowledge or experience, Stalin would completely mishandle the situation, and after just 2 months under his command, the city was on the verge of collapse, with many soldiers having died under his command. Faced with this disaster, Stalin would turn to a technique that would later become a staple of his political career.
The Gulag?
He would begin the use of terror. The disaster was soon blamed on counter-revolutionaries.
Become the master of the air, the thunder of the seas, or a tank fury in the epic multiplayer action game War Thunder. It's a
spies and saboteurs who were arrested, convicted on weak or fabricated evidence, and then executed.
Oh, don't show it.
Stalin became known for being particularly brutal in his use of terror, burning down entire villages and arresting anyone who dared to argue with him. He was highly suspicious of military personnel, who he would often target in his purges, bringing him into conflict with the head of the army, Leon Trotsky, who saw Stalin as a dangerous political rival. Trotsky would express his grievances to Lenin, leading to Stalin's removal from Tsaritsyn and beginning a lifelong rivalry between the two men, a conflict from which only one of them would survive.
And it wasn't Trotsky.
In 1922, the same year the Soviet Union was formally established, Stalin would be elected to the position of General Secretary, a role he would use to secure his rise to power. The position allowed him to set the agenda for meetings of the Politburo and the Soviet government, as well as placing the careers of numerous Soviet officials in his hands, giving him a large and loyal following. But towards the end of 1922, a power vacuum would emerge at the highest levels of Soviet government when Lenin became seriously ill, suffering a number of strokes that impeded his ability to govern the country. But to Stalin's horror, Trotsky would manage to form an alliance.
I think anger causes strokes, because all these guys have strokes, like multiple strokes.
With the dying Soviet leader, giving him a significant advantage
I'm
in
not
the
a
power
doctor.
struggle.
That's just a
Stalin
theory.
would respond by calling Lenin's wife and subjecting her to a torrent of abusive language, an event that would be so upsetting to Lenin that he would call for Stalin's removal from government. While Stalin managed to keep his position, a rift had opened between him and Lenin, the most influential and respected man in the country, putting his political career in a very dangerous position. But in 1924, Lenin would die, giving Stalin the opportunity to reshape their relationship in the eyes of the public. And so he would take control of the funeral, giving himself the politically significant role as one of Lenin's pallbearers. Lenin would be enshrined in Moscow's Red Square, with Stalin portrayed as the protector of his legacy in Soviet propaganda. Trotsky, his hated rival, was given the wrong...
We talked about that last week, how there's like 3 different stories about Lenin's death, and I went through all of them, and we can't really know. He might have committed suicide because he knew he was about to get captured by drinking poison himself. Maybe somebody else poisoned him. Maybe he died of natural causes. There's like multiple stories.
Wrong date for the funeral, causing him to miss the event entirely. Over the next few years, Stalin would expertly manipulate events to secure his rise to power, pitting his rivals against each other and eventually amassing enough support to strip Trotsky of his position in government. With his main political opponent gone, there were few left to oppose Stalin. He would systematically demote, arrest and exile his political opponents, and by 1928, he would emerge as the sole leader of the country.
crazy. Famine.
Having secured absolute power, Stalin began transforming the Soviet Union into a modern superpower. In 1931, he would state, "We are 50 or 100 years behind the advanced countries. We must make good this distance in 10 years. Either we do it, or we shall be crushed."
And he did.
He would begin a policy of rapid industrialization, launching a series of 5-year plans to grow Soviet industry. But the implementation of these plans would be chaos. Ignoring the advice of economic experts, Stalin would double and then triple production targets, nearly none of which would actually be met. Inflation was rampant, money was spent with no budget, and entire factories were constructed with only half-finished blueprints. But despite this, production did see a notable increase, securing the Soviet Union's place as a modern industrial nation.
They sent a fake propaganda video to France, and it became like a global story about a miner who was 14 times more efficient than all the other miners. So they had a video of this coal miner just chiseling coal out of the wall, and all the coal's falling, and they said this great Russian miner is 14 times more productive than any of the other coal miners, and this is the type of worker we have in Russia. And it was a totally bogus, made-up story. It was totally fake.
To support industry, a policy of forced collectivization was implemented, where peasants, the country's largest group of people, were stripped of their private property and forced to work for the state on collective farms. Anyone who refused was beaten, shot, or sent to labor camps known as gulags, where they would be used for slave labor. But the policy would be met with extreme resistance, with many peasants preferring to burn their crops and slaughter their animals rather than let them be taken by the state. In some instances, Stalin's response was extreme, with villages that refused to comply being bombed out of existence by the Air Force. With the peasants lacking any economic incentive to work, agricultural production saw a massive decline, soon leading to a devastating famine. Reaching its peak in the winter of 1932 and 1933, the famine is estimated to have caused the death of up to 7 million people, with millions more being left permanently disabled. Parents would sell their children for food, with the countryside seeing widespread cases of disease.
Who's buying children? Epstein? Who was in buying up all the children? I guess for slave labor.
Banditry and cannibalism. Anyone who kept stores of grain was accused of hoarding, and were beaten and tortured until they gave up their supplies. The famine would hit Ukraine the hardest, with 3.5 million people dying there alone. The Ukrainians would call the famine the Holodomor, a name that means murder through starvation. Stalin would only make things worse, exporting 2 million tons of food out of the Ukraine and forbidding those that lived there to move away. Their only option was to wait and die, with thousands of starving people turning to cannibalism to survive.
Oh, damn.
But for Stalin, the countryside had been brought under control. Although it had cost the lives of millions and had reduced the peasants to slaves of the state, it was a price he was willing to pay to feed the industrial workers.
The Great Terror.
But as the 1930s went on, Stalin would become increasingly paranoid of those around him, constantly searching for traitors and conspiracies, and looking for ways to secure his power. He would first target his political opposition, with the assassination of Soviet politician Sergei Kirov, providing a pretext for convicting his most influential opponents of conspiracy. Between 1936 and 1938, a series of show trials would be held.
I'm checking Timcast. They're 2 hours in, and Trump is still not there. That's clickbait, Tim.
Where the accused would be convicted on fabricated evidence, tortured into giving a confession, and then shot. The old Bolsheviks were targeted, those who had been around since before the revolution, and retained strong political opinions and influence. They would be replaced by young
ensure
politicians
that Americans
who could
are
be
the priority
hold on.
for our government.
The chat's going crazy. I think he's there.
You can on lukeunfiltered.com. We're doing nature hikes. We're
June. Subscribe to this channel, share the show with your friends if you like it, and become a member at timcast.com. Click join.
Oh, wait, the premiere is ending. No way it's going behind a paywall. The premiere is ending, and I think they're about to go live with Trump.
Us. Support our work. If you like the work that we do, you want to see more of it, over Evan June. We'll talk about it, but
appreciate you side.
Instagram Mudvayne or we do.
At timcast.
Okay, here it is. Hold on.
Good.
Hold on. We got to interrupt the it's not live, but here we go.
Mr. President, this is your seat we have for you right here.
How are you?
I'm very good. Nice to see you. We met at Mar-a-Lago a couple weeks ago.
I remember.
Yeah, you complimented my face. I really do appreciate it.
Your beauty.
Thanks for sitting down. I really do appreciate
Okay.
it. So I know you don't have a lot of time, so I'll just we'll jump right in.
Okay, good.
We had a couple polls we went over on the show.
Sorry to interview the Stalin research. They called Trump a dictator. He said, I'll be a dictator for one day.
Our show, IRL. Young people. Surprisingly, immigration is a top issue for them now. I was talking to a young guy, he's 26. He says he's watching what's going on in New York. He owns a business. He can't afford to buy his own house. He struggles to be able to support a family. And I know that you've said that there's going to be the largest deportation effort in your next term. How do we do it?
So millions and millions of people are coming into our country, and it's not necessarily exactly what we want or had in mind. They have open borders where people just flow in, and many of those people are coming from prisons. Many of those people, frankly, are murderers, and they're drug dealers, and they're coming from mental institutions, and they're coming from places.
Oh, how Tim is dressed? Tim is dressed in the same outfit he wears every day to talk to the president. Yeah.
That are not going to work very well. It's not going to be very good for our country. So we're going to start with that, and we have to get them out. No country can sustain what we're going through. I believe the number is 15, 16 million, could even be 17 million people right now.
Is
that's more than that's bigger than almost all of our states.
I think it's freaking out young people. How do we do it though? I mean, is it going to be new personnel?
It will really be done with local police. You know, the respect has been taken away. The honor has been taken away from our police forces. They're not allowed to do anything.
Cameraman. What are you doing?
And whether it's libertarian or not libertarian, people have to have,
Bro, Tim is going to fire that cameraman.
To have law and order. You can't have 500 people walking into a department store and just walking out with everything they have. And we have to give honor and respect back. And I believe immunity, because, so often when a police person does their job, they end up with no pension, they end up with no house, they end up with no family. Everything's taken away from them. They have to get their own lawyer. So we're going to give them back their dignity and their strength. The local police know the criminals that we're talking about. They know their first name, their middle name, and their last name. They know everything about them. And we're going to have to let them do that. And they will bring them in. We have no choice. And these are, in many cases, and this is from all over the world, not just South America, which is big enough, but they're coming in from the Congo. They're coming in from...
That's what I said. They're calling me a dictator. Trump is going to be the last dictator that we cover.
From all parts of Africa. They're coming in from all parts of Asia, and it's an invasion into our country, and no country can handle this. So we're going to have them taken out. Local police, we're going to work very closely with the local police, and it's been done before.
Take them out.
We had Dwight Eisenhower, believe it or not, did the biggest deportation.
Yeah, you have one job, hold the
pretty
camera
much stopped
steady,
it.
dude.
Strange that we mentioned Eisenhower, because you don't think of him that way, but he did a massive deportation where people were pouring in.
The next big question that we get a lot is, there's two components to this. The first is many of the libertarians here, we want to see firings. We want to see in the bureaucracy corrupt
I agree.
individuals, the bloat. On top of that, without getting into the specifics for obvious reasons, the things that they're doing to you with the court system is not just to you. It is to me. It is to everyone who voted for you in 2020.
He's a libertarian that wants socialized medicine. That makes sense.
It's true.
Are we going to get some good personnel in as Attorney General, Deputy Attorney General, and in the CIA,
right.
and see some?
So this must have been recorded at the Libertarian convention because you can hear speakers and cheering in the background. So I think they're backstage after Trump did his speech at the Libertarian convention. Of course, Tim was there.
Prosecutions.
So we had some great people because our trade numbers were fantastic. The jobs we did on trade, the jobs we did, frankly, in the military underneath the terrible television generals who were absolutely terrible.
I don't
we
eat
have
tater
incredible
tots.
people.
I
We
eat
defeated
dictator.
ISIS.
Whoa,
and we had
pause.
no new wars because they were concerned with us. I had no wars at all. I finished off a war that we were in for 20 years, but we had no wars. And we have to get the right people. It's all about the people. So when I first came here, I was only in Washington 17 times in my life. All of a sudden, I'm president.
I've talked about the gulags a lot, and the documentary we're watching is talking about the Great Terror. So I probably won't read these Wikipedias that I have about the gulags and the Great Terrors, but we might go a little long today, depending on how long this interview is. And then as soon as this show's over, we'll do the after show, which will be all night. We'll open up the Discord and all that stuff.
President. And I really knew nobody. I relied on people. Some were good, some were rhinos, some gave us some bad advice. And generally speaking, we had very good people. But we had some that we have to do better. Attorney General, we have to get a great Attorney General. And I'd work with the Libertarian Party on that. I think it's very good because, you know, I view the Libertarian Party as almost a party of common sense, largely of common sense. And I say that about the Republican Party, too. We're a party of common sense. You want borders, but you want fairness. You want a lot of things that a lot of other people don't talk about. So we will work with a lot of people to get the right people in. The difference is I now know sort of everybody.
Yeah.
And I'm not having to be relying on people that I didn't know very well and listen to their recommendations. And I think we're going to have phenomenal people. I know the people. I know the good ones, the bad ones, the weak ones, the strong ones. I think we're going to have great people.
We're friends with Kash Patel. He was on the show just before you, and that gives me a lot of confidence.
Yeah. Well, Kash is fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's an example of a good one.
Yep.
We have some great people, but Kash was a great example. Devin Nunes, as you know, he's fantastic.
Absolutely.
We have so many great people.
So when it came to foreign policy, I'll be honest, I didn't vote for you in 2016. I was jaded. Obama let me down. I'm from Chicago. I thought 2016 was silly. And then in 2020, with the timeline for getting out of Afghanistan,
right?
When you tried to get our troops out of Syria, my question is, why are we in Syria? Who even knew?
Yeah.
And they lied to you, and they lied to us about the number of troops in there. And so maybe it's a bit blunt for me to say I want to see people prosecuted for the lies of the American people. But in terms of foreign policy, perhaps it's a little bit of a biased interview, but I think you're the greatest president of my lifetime.
I appreciate it.
And ending the wars that we should not have been involved in. Now the fear is World War III.
Yeah.
What are you looking at when you enter your next term to stopping the escalation?
Well, first of all, I'm the only one that is going to stop World War III because this man can't put two sentences together. He doesn't know what he's doing, doesn't know where he is.
He's scared of the
and
stairs.
Amazingly, it seems like he's going to be running. You know, it's a lot of people say, do you think he'll make it to the starting gate? Well, we'll see what happens. But if you look at Viktor Orban, because we don't want to see wars. I don't want to see wars. I was in no wars other than we finished a war with ISIS and we completed it, 100% complete. But I don't want to see wars. I think it's so horrible, so unnecessary, so costly in terms of lives and money in that order, and destroying these countries. You know, you're destroying culture. When you look at Ukraine, that would have never happened if I were president. You look at the October 7th attack on Israel, it would have never happened.
I look at your policies, I see secure the borders, bring jobs back. I look at the Democrats and many Republicans, and it's foreign war and foreign expansion.
That's right.
What is that?
I think it's just a failed mentality. It's crazy. You can solve problems over a telephone. Instead, they start dropping bombs. I see recently they're dropping bombs all over Yemen. You don't have to do that. You can talk in such a way where they respect you and they listen to you. Viktor Orban of Hungary, you know, the leader, they call him a strong man. Who cares if he's a strong man or not a strong man? He's a very powerful guy. He said the problem the world has is that Donald Trump is no longer president. When he was president, China didn't play around, Russia didn't play around, nobody played around, and we had no problems. Today, the whole world is on fire.
I heard that funny, there's a conversation from a phone call where you said that there was they maybe thought there was a 5% chance you'd nuke them.
That's wow.
And so that kept them in line. It's kind of scary to think about, but You take a look at the weakness we have now with Ukraine and the money that we are wasting. You know, I'll bring it back to the economy. This young guy I was talking to about immigration. Actually, I'll put it this way. There's a viral video where a young man screaming that we're sending hundreds of billions to a country no one's ever heard of.
Right.
And young people are hurting in this country. Do you see any direct economic policy that is on your list for
Well, we don't want to have another
2025?
Holodomor.
Direct economic, but also direct in terms of warfare. We're spending hundreds of billions of dollars all around the world. But when you look at Ukraine, we're giving all of this money. Europe, which is much more affected by that war than us, is spending just a tiny fraction of what we're spending. And you say, does anybody at least get involved in this? But more importantly, I will end that war. I'll get it ended. Putin respects me. Zelensky respects me. I know all the players. And I want to get that war ended. It's a horrible war. It's a terrible, there's no good war, but that's a horrible war. And to think it would have never started. It would have never started. If the election turned out like it should have turned out, that war would have never started. I mean, and you know, the number of lives we're talking about is far greater than the numbers that you hear. When they blow up a town, or when they blow up these buildings, these massive buildings, surprisingly, I mean, these are big. That was my business. These are big, powerful buildings. And they come tumbling down to the ground and they say nobody was injured. A lot of people were killed. Yeah. And the numbers are a lot different than you think. When you will see that happening. When those numbers really get announced, you're going to see it's much worse than people think.
Here at the Libertarian Party National Convention, they had one of their, I believe one of their presidential nominees said he wants to see Fauci, the heads of Moderna, Pfizer, Biden, and you locked up for what happened during COVID. I don't agree with them, but there is a big sentiment. Elon Musk tweeted, prosecute Fauci. Fauci lied to Congress about the gain-of-function research that was going on, and now we have testimony
Well,
that...
I'm the one that stopped the funding, and this was funding from before me. I'm the one that stopped the funding. Fauci wasn't a big player in my administration like he was after I left. I mean, Biden made him the king of everything, and if you take a look at that, Fauci was not the big player with me that he was. And in fact, I did things that he didn't want to do. He wanted to keep it open to China. I said, you got to close it to China because it was all coming out of China. It was coming out of Wuhan, which I said right at the beginning. But the other thing is
xenophobic.
And what people don't realize, I believe in federalism. I gave the power to governors. Some governors did a great job. In all cases, they were Republicans. And some, like in South Carolina, Henry McMaster, kept everything open. Others didn't. The Democrats did a bad job, very bad job. But basically, I gave that power over the states. I gave it to the governor. I gave it back to the states. And I think it's something which, when people realize that, it's something that they respect.
Will there be accountability for the lying to Congress when you get to appoint your new AG, deputy AG?
Yeah, and we'll take a look at statute of limitations because, you know, the statute of limitations are quite long. And we're going to be looking at that very seriously, yeah.
I got one big question for you. So part of my family comes from Korea.
Good.
And you did what I think is one of the most tremendous things. You crossed the demilitarized zone into North Korea with no security as a sign of goodwill and peace with the hostile nation. And I've had people tell me it never happened. So I think people need to know about it. And I'm wondering if you can just tell me, how did that happen? How did it come to be?
And it hasn't happened since.
Yeah.
And when I met with, the handoff, you sort of meet with the previous president for a period of time. The meeting lasted for quite a while. With President Obama, you sit in the Oval Office and you talk, and the press is outside, and you talk for a little while. He said the single greatest threat we have is North Korea. And I said, have you called them? Have you tried to talk to them? Little things like that. And didn't matter what the answer was. He felt that was the single biggest threat in the world was North Korea. And as you know, there was certain hostility when I first started, and all of a sudden it boiled down to something that was very beautiful, the way it happened. And I got along with him very well. And I will say that if Hillary won that race, you would have had a nuclear war and millions of people would have been killed. And you weren't even close to that. It never happened. It was never going to happen. I got along great with him, and it just never was going to happen.
Were you at all scared in any way when you crossed into an enemy country?
Well, I wouldn't say that Secret Service was thrilled. And in those blue buildings, there were lots of people in those buildings that I looked at. The two blue buildings on each side with the windows. And I looked in those windows, and there were a lot of things happening in those. Someday I'll tell you about it. But no, I felt very safe. I felt my relationship with him, as you know, was very hostile. Little Rocket Man and all that. But then all of a sudden it morphed. He respected me. I respected him. And we ended up, once we got to know each other, we ended up very good. A very smart guy, very strong guy. He's the absolute leader of that country. You know, for those that think he's not, they're wrong. And I got to know him very well. I even did a press conference. He never did a press conference before. I said, would you like to do a press conference? And we did a press conference, if you remember. And then he said, that's the end of the press conference. And boom, everybody was pretty radically thrown out. But it was a press conference, the only press conference he's ever done. I got along with him great. We had no nuclear war. You would have had a nuclear war guaranteed. And you won't if we have the right president, if we have somebody that knows what he's doing, you're not going to have World War III. If, on the other hand, we don't, you're going to end up in World War III, and it's going to be a war like no other because of the power of weaponry.
Many have actually been saying we're already in it. The Hill published a piece saying we are in World War III and Biden is losing it. And so my hope is I don't see any logical path for a Biden presidency to fix the economy, to fix anything.
He can't fix himself.
Yeah.
Can't fix anything.
He had a new one the other day, Pack-a-lack-a-lack. I don't know if you saw that. He was muttering on TV, something like that. Now, crypto.
You know, by the way, I just so you know, I know all the leaders. They're at the top of their game. They're sharp. They're tough. They're smart. They love their country, or they do whatever they have to for their country at a minimum. And when they see this guy come in, I think they can't believe it. I know they can't believe it. It's not the right person.
So we'll do a couple quick ones. We don't have much time. You announced you're taking cryptocurrency.
What we're doing is we're backing it as a form of, as a field, and we have to, because otherwise somebody else is going to be doing it from another country. And as you know, they're already trying.
Biden's trying to shut it down.
And it's going to happen, and we're going to help it happen. And it's something that can be very good. I think it can be very good.
No central bank digital currencies.
No central bank.
And one more big one. Will you pardon Julian Assange?
Well, I'm going to talk about that today, and we're going to give it very serious consideration. And we're going to have a couple of other things to say in the speech that I think you're going to love.
I've heard some rumors.
And you've gotten so much out of me, I should leave a little bit for the speech, don't you think?
Mr. President, it is an honor and a privilege. I really do appreciate you sitting down with me.
And you're very respected, I have to say. When I did a little research, and some of my guys said, and I met you before, but they said just a very respected guy. It's my honor. Even though we're keeping that big crowd, that's the biggest crowd they've ever had. We're keeping them waiting just for this interview, so congratulations.
Thank you so much. Shall we?
Thank you, my friend.
Thank you.
Appreciate it very much.
I really do appreciate it.
Great. Thanks. That was fun.
You got my vote.
We better win. We're not going to have a country.
Yeah. We're excited.
Yeah, you couldn't wear a suit for your interview with the president?
We're friends with Junior and Cash. And,
You wearing Vans and jeans and a beanie? I dress nicer than that for a dang Monday night show.
Thanks for hanging out. Make sure you smash that like button. Subscribe to this.
Kind of clickbaity. I assumed that you were going to have a 3-hour podcast with Trump, but I guess I should have known better. All right, back to Stalin, a real dictator, not a fake dictator, what they accuse Trump of being. Back to this, and then we'll end the show, and then we'll start up the after-party show.
Easily manipulated and were completely loyal to Stalin, knowing never to question his judgment. Army officers soon came into the firing line, as Stalin believed their power and influence had grown too strong. Many were convicted of working as agents for Trotsky, with over 35,000 officers being shot or imprisoned, and the Navy losing every single one of its admirals. But soon the purges would extend to every corner of Soviet society. Ordinary citizens were encouraged to report suspicious friends and family to the authorities, many of whom would do so out of fear of being targeted themselves. The secret police were also appointed a new leader, Nikolai Yezhov, who would set his officers' arrest and execution quotas, often purging his own staff to impress Stalin. At only 5 feet tall, he was soon nicknamed the Bloody Dwarf, true to his enthusiasm for torturing his victims.
I wouldn't call him that.
Between 1937 and 1938, an average of 1,500 people were killed every day, a period known as the Great Terror. Around 1.6 million people were arrested, 700,000 of which were executed, with an unknown number dying in labor camps and torture chambers. Stalin's paranoia had become extreme, with a colleague describing him as suspicious to the point of insanity. His purges would also have a devastating effect on Soviet society, with a culture of fear and distrust emerging. Those working in industry were afraid to suggest any changes or innovations that could get them accused of sabotage, leading to a slowdown in economic growth.
This game, you're not ready.
The military were particularly affected, and would suffer from an extreme shortage of experienced commanders, with discipline and quality suffering as a result. And with war on the horizon, the purges could not have come at a worse time.
This is when he took out Hitler.
As the Great Terror began to wind down, international relations were reaching a boiling point, with Europe soon erupting into World War II. Stalin would initially sign a non-aggression pact with Hitler.
So, here's the non-aggression agreement they came up with. So chronologically, next week we should do Hitler, but we're going to go back in time next week to Mussolini and the rise of fascism. And then we'll finish with Hitler.
The Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact, which allowed him to invade and take over large parts of Eastern Europe once the conflict began. These territories would quickly find themselves subject to the same oppression experienced in the Soviet Union for decades. The most notorious example of this was the Katyn massacre of 1940, where almost 22,000 Polish prisoners were killed to prevent any ideological opposition from emerging. That same year, a Soviet agent would also manage to hunt down Stalin's longtime rival, Leon Trotsky, assassinating him with an ice pick in Mexico City. But soon, things would turn against Stalin, with Hitler breaking their non-aggression pact and launching a surprise invasion of the Soviet Union on June 22, 1941. The Soviet army, completely unprepared and weakened by Stalin's purges, would suffer devastating losses, with Stalin himself entering a state of shock. Just a week after the invasion began, Stalin would disappear from the government and began hiding away in his Moscow home with a terrifying...
The most loved people and the best people at what they do are often the most hated people.
...group of officials being forced to approach him to convince him to lead the war effort. But Stalin's military leadership would be filled with the same brutal tactics he had employed throughout his career. He would insist that every inch of ground be held, giving the death sentence to those who surrendered, leading to the pointless loss of thousands of men. Those deemed to be fearmongers or cowards were placed in special penalty battalions, who would be sent to their death at the start of battles to help reduce enemy ammunition. Taking this further, he would make it illegal to be taken prisoner, with the families of prisoners and deserters being stripped of their government pensions and arrested. Terror was also used to maintain army discipline, and just 4 months after the outbreak of war, over 10,000 members of the army had been shot by their superiors, often directly in front of their comrades. But despite this brutality, the tide would soon turn, with a combination of Soviet heroism, Russian heavy industry and Western assistance pushing the Germans back. By 1944, Nazi Germany were in full retreat, with the Soviets claiming a large portion of Eastern Europe and eventually capturing Berlin itself. But it had come at the cost of 25 million lives, the highest death toll for any country in the Second World War. Victory in the war would greatly benefit Stalin's dictatorship, with Soviet propaganda portraying him as a hero. At home, his rule was unquestioned, and he now owned a vast empire that spanned over 2 continents. From his humble beginnings in Georgia, he had risen to be the leader of the second most powerful country on Earth, surpassed only by the United States. With his new territory spanning from the Baltic to the Adriatic Sea, Stalin would assert his influence over Eastern Europe, with Churchill stating that an Iron Curtain had descended across the continent. The Cold War had begun, a conflict that would come to dominate the rest of the 20th century, with Stalin battling the West for control and ideological influence in Europe for the last years of his life. Although he had achieved absolute power, Stalin would struggle with his personal image. He was a man of small stature, measuring at only 5 feet 4 inches tall. He would often wear shoes with thick soles to make himself appear taller. His face was also heavily marked,
like DeSantis,
from the scars he had obtained after contracting smallpox in his youth. He would take every measure to hide them, employing makeup artists and airbrushing photographs to make his face appear smoother. Those that met him were often shocked by the small and disfigured man they would see, far different from the heroic figure portrayed in Soviet propaganda. But in his final years, Stalin had become paranoid and lonely, having no one around him he could trust. He had arrested and killed a number of his own family during the Great Terror, and his first son, Yakov, had been captured and killed during the Second World War. Stalin had also married a second wife, Nadezhda Alliluyeva, in 1919, although he would be consistently unfaithful, with Nadezhda committing suicide in 1932 after the couple had a public argument.
Her own family shamed her for that. Like, her whole family was like, she was weak and she should not have done that.
Children, Svetlana and Vasily, would both experience difficulties as children of a dictator. Vasily was an arrogant and irresponsible.
The other documentary had a letter that his daughter wrote to him when she was like 9 years old, and it said, "The whole world hates me for being your daughter, but I love you still. I don't care what they think."
Young man.
Somebody probably made her write that letter so that he didn't kill her.
Becoming accustomed to being treated like royalty. During the war, he would become a 24-year-old general, but acted with a total lack of responsibility. He would go fishing with his subordinates, using explosives to stun the fish, leading to the death of an officer. He would also struggle with alcoholism and had contracted a number of chronic diseases by his 30th birthday. After his father's death, he would be imprisoned after a drunken outburst, dying in exile at the age of 40. While Svetlana received more love and attention, she would often come into conflict with her father over her relationships, with Stalin once arresting a boyfriend he disapproved of. Their once warm relationship would grow distant as the years went on, with Svetlana choosing to defect to the United States after her father's death. Stalin's health would begin to seriously decline in his final years, due to years of smoking, drinking, and overwork. He would suffer a debilitating stroke on March 1st, 1953, in his Moscow home. His guards, terrified of upsetting him, would refuse to enter his room without permission, with it taking hours before they found the courage to enter, finding him lying immobilized on the floor. His top associates were quickly summoned, but even they were too afraid to take any real action. Stalin had recently become convinced that his own doctors were trying to kill him, and it would take many hours before anyone was confident enough to call a medical professional. But by then it was too late, with it being determined that the dictator had suffered a cerebral hemorrhage, with him dying on March 5th, 1953, after several days of paralysis, having lived to the age of 74. Joseph Stalin will go down as one of history's most notorious leaders. He can be credited with transforming the Soviet Union into a modern superpower, and for leading the country through the Second World War, but it came at an immense cost. Between 1930 and 1952, over 26 million people had been shot, imprisoned, or subjected to internal exile. an average of over 1 million per year. Tens of millions more would be arrested without charge, evicted from their homes, or forced to work on dangerous projects, with it being estimated that at least 60 million people had been subjected to some form of repression during Stalin's rule. But despite this, many Soviet citizens would remain devoted to their leader. The state produced an endless stream of propaganda, portraying Stalin as a hero and a father figure. Paintings, songs, and statues were all commissioned by the dictator, with several towns and cities being named after him. Official history books would distort events beyond recognition, and he would go as far as to doctor historical photographs, removing his political rivals from important events in Soviet history. This
wild.
Propaganda would be incredibly effective.
Bro, they were photoshopping the pictures before Photoshop was a thing. How did they do that?
With many expressing genuine grief at his death and worrying about a future without his leadership. Even prisoners in the Gulag, many of whom Stalin had sent there himself, are known to have wept at the news of his passing. Hero or tyrant, a great modernizer or a ruthless killer.
But he died at 74. That's pretty old. Or that's not that young.
There can be no doubt that Stalin was one of the most...
Or did they say 1970? No, they said he was 74, right?
...influential figures of the 20th century, whose legacy has shaped the world as we know it today.
Oh, they would paint it out? Okay. All right. That's the end of the documentary, and it's 8 o'clock. I was going to read about the gulags and the Great Purge, but we saw it in the documentary. Stalin was crazy. Maybe the worst so far. Like, Mao was bad. More people died under Mao, but that was due to starvation and high population density in Asia. But Stalin was crazy. Stalin was ruthless. Next week, we'll talk about Mussolini, the Italian right-wing dictator, and the rise of fascism. So we're going to go back in time a little bit, jump back to Mussolini, which I think was the late 1800s. And then we'll wrap up with Hitler, and then we'll be done with the Dissecting a Dictator series. But that's it for the show. Guys, Monday night, Dreaded Conservative show. I'm thinking next week we're going to move the show to Wednesday so that I can do Monday and Tuesday night. We can do the Discord all-night streams. And then Wednesday will be the Dreaded Conservative show. Because basically I'm used to it coming at the end of the weekend. I go to work for a day and then I do the show. This is too loud. It's supposed to be the weekend, and then the first day back to work is when the show happens. So I think I'm going to move it to Wednesday next week. Monday and Tuesday we'll just do Discord streams and hang out. But for tonight, I don't work. It's my day off. Tomorrow's my day off. We'll do a snore stream tomorrow after this show, after this stream ends. Check the channel. I'll make a new thumbnail, and it'll start in like 10 minutes after the show. I'm just going to go make a bowl of noodles. And then we will do a open panel after party show on Discord with all that good stuff. But make sure you guys hit the like button. Hit up the Cash App. I need some cigarette money. Your boy's broke until payday. We could do some push-ups for... I'll do push-ups for cash in the after party show. 20 push-ups for $5. $10 is 40 push-ups. Hit up the Cash App. Thank you to the members. Thank you guys for watching. You can help out for free by hitting the like button. Make sure you're subscribed. Check to make sure YouTube doesn't unsubscribe you. All the good stuff. We're coming up on 5K, and then I'll be cutting the dreads off, ladies and gentlemen. So that's it for the show. I'll see you in about 10 minutes. Check for the thumbnail and wait in the waiting room. we'll go sit in the Discord. You guys can go start filling up the Discord if you want. But that's it, guys. God bless. Have a good night. I'll see you in just a little bit. We out. Peace. Bum, bum.